Chapter 690. The Valley of the Medicine Masters in front of the herb fields. Yuhaoran opened his eyes after finishing his conversation with the first doppelganger. However, he immediately closed his eyes again. This was because the second doppelganger had taken the initiative to contact him through an intimate connection. "Brother Yu," the second doppelganger called out after sensing Yuhaoran's response. "Brother Hao, what happened?" Yuhaoran hurriedly asked. Just now, the valley head of the Medicine Master's Valley, Guzi, came and said that he has already eliminated the problem in the Earth Source Pavilion and hopes that I can move back to the Earth Source Pavilion, the second doppelganger explained. Other than that, Yuhaoran continued to ask. If it was just moving back to the Earth Source Pavilion, the second doppelganger could make the decision himself without asking for his opinion. Guzi asked me when I plan to start refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill and Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. The second doppelganger continued to explain. Brother Ran, tell Guzi that we can move back to the Earth Source Pavilion, but he doesn't need to worry about refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill and Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. After some consideration, Yuhaoran felt that if he wanted to continue increasing his success rate in refining the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill, the environment of the Earth Source Pavilion was more suitable for him. Hence, he did not object to Guzi's request to move back to the Earth Source Pavilion. However, he rejected Guzi's request to continue refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill and Ice Heart Jade Bone pill without even considering it. A sinister villain who wanted to use a secret technique of the Devil Dao to extract his soul and use it to steal the refining method of the 5 Lives Profound Gate pill and the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. How could he be at ease letting such a person cooperate with him in refining pills? Furthermore, he already had the ability and means to refine these 2 pills on his own. He did not need others to observe and learn his refining methods. Understand. The second doppelganger nodded and cut off the connection with Yuhaoran. After opening his eyes, Yuhaoran did not rush into the herb fields to harvest the spirit herbs. Instead, he stood in place and thought for a while, pondering over Guzi's motives. Thinking about it, it was likely that Guzi had mistakenly believed that Zhao Qing had escaped from the Valley of the Medicine Masters with the remaining Grade 4 Spirit Stones, because Zhao Qing was safe and sound. This made him unwilling to give up. He wanted to capture Zhao Qing and use Zhao Qing to continue communicating with the Devil Dao. Then, he would use the Devil Dao's secret technique to extract the power of his soul. If it had been half an hour ago, perhaps he would have considered leaving the Valley of the Medicine Masters as soon as possible. However, Yuhaoran now had the protection of an upper-grade Tier 3 spirit vein, so he had the patience to continue staying. Firstly, he could make use of the Earth Origin Pavilion's scorching spirit chi environment to refine the 5 Lives Profound Gate pill and Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. Secondly, he also wanted to play with Guzi. He wanted to see Guzi's expression change from anticipation to disappointment and finally despair. Thinking of this, Yuhaoran's face revealed a trace of a proud smile. Then, he stepped into the medicine field and began to choose spiritual herbs that could control a 3rd stage upper spiritual vein. It didn't take long. In less than 20 minutes, he had successfully found 6 spiritual herbs that could be used in conjunction with the detoxification pill to control the spiritual veins and divine souls. Then, he used a movement technique to rush straight to the Earth Origin Pavilion. When he returned to the Earth Origin Pavilion, he discovered that his second doppelganger had not been arranged to return. However, he did not wait for his second doppelganger. He directly jumped over the wall and entered the Earth Origin Pavilion, then went straight to the room on the west side of the 1st floor. This was because this was the room where Xiang Wenxuan had been poisoned by Guzi and then saved by him. After pushing open the door and entering the room, Yuhaoran discovered that Xiang Wenxuan was making use of the scorching spirit chi in the Earth Origin Pavilion to dispel the yin chi in the Black King Dragon saliva. Hearing the door open, Xiang Wenxuan immediately opened his eyes warily and took a defensive stance. However, when he saw that the person who had entered the room was Yuhaoran, he heaved a sigh of relief and could not help but ask curiously, "Brother Yu, why haven't you left the Medicine Master Valley? There is no danger for the time being, and the environment in the Earth Origin Pavilion is so outstanding. Why would I be in a hurry to leave? Yu Haoran explained with a smile. Could it be that you have made peace with the valley head? Xiang Wenxuan asked in surprise after hearing Yu Haoran's explanation, since there was no danger for the time being. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran did not explain further and only reminded Xiang Wenxuan. Brother Xiang, Gu Zi will come looking for you in a short while. When that time comes, how will you face him? Faced with Yu Haoran's reminder, Xiang Wenxuan did not know how to reply. Although he had already decided to leave the Valley of the Medicine Masters and become a free and unfettered independent alchemist, he was still very reluctant to leave the Valley of the Medicine Masters at the moment. After all, how could he give up on a relationship of more than 40 years just because he wanted to? Brother Xiang, no matter what choice you make in the end, I will always respect you and treat you like an older brother. Yu Haoran walked to Xiang Wenxuan's side and patted him on the shoulder as he consoled him. Then, he turned and left the room. However, when he reached the door of the room, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and reminded him, Brother Xiang, no matter whether you leave the Medicine Master Valley in the end or not, I hope that you will leave a few days later, because the day after tomorrow, I plan to refine the 5 Lives Mystery Pill and the Ice Hard Jade Bone Pill alone. After leaving these words of reminder, Yu Haoran walked out of the room and went up the stairs to the room that he had stayed in before. Sitting cross-legged on the bed with his eyes closed, he checked and consolidated his cultivation base and physical body grade that he had uncontrollably broken through while waiting for the return of the second doppelganger. Time was like flowing water, always passing by when you were not paying attention. 2 days and 2 nights had passed in the blink of an eye. As the stars disappeared and the sun rose from the east, Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, slowly opened his eyes. A look of relief flashed across his face. Using pure spiritual qi to raise one's cultivation base and physical body grade seemed to have no side effects. However, breaking through under completely uncontrollable circumstances would cause damage to one's foundation and cause endless trouble. Fortunately, he had the experience of being a peak 9th grade martial king in his previous life and the assistance of Thaling's peak martial honorable divine sense, allowing him to discover it in time and use 2 days and 2 nights to completely eliminate the hidden danger. Taking a deep breath and slowly exhaling, Yu Haoran got up and left the room. He then left the loft through the stairs and came to the courtyard. Brother Yu, good morning. Xiang Wenxuan, who was sitting on a stone chair in the courtyard, greeted Yu Haoran with a smile. Brother Xiang, how's your recovery going? Walking into the pavilion, Yu Haoran asked with a smile. With the help of the pills you gave me and the scorching spiritual qi in the Earth Source Pavilion, I have completely recovered. Chapter 691, Medicine King Valley, Earth Source Pavilion. Brother Yu, after I complete the refinement of the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Pill and Ice Hard Jade Bone Pill, I will choose to leave Medicine King Valley, Xiang Wenxuan said solemnly. Brother Xiang, you have really decided. Although his tone was very calm, Yu Haoran could not help but feel excited. As long as Xiang Wenxuan really left Medicine King Valley, then he had 100% confidence that he would willingly join Xingyan Peak. Nodding his head heavily, Xiang Wenxuan said with a bitter smile, I've discussed this with the Valley Master yesterday, and I've already received his approval. From now on, I'm a rogue alchemist. Old brother Xiang, I promise you that it won't be long before you will feel incomparably fortunate for your decision this time. Yu Haoran placed his hand on Xiang Wenxuan's shoulder and solemnly guaranteed. Then I will count on your auspicious words. Xiang Wenxuan said with a forced smile. Seeing that Xiang Wenxuan did not believe his promise, Yu Haoran did not explain too much and suddenly changed the topic to his interpersonal relationships. Brother Xiang, is there anyone in Medicine King Valley who is on good terms with you and can help you without hesitation if you encounter any trouble in the future? There are a few alchemy grandmasters and a few talented disciples. Although Yu Haoran did not say it explicitly, Xiang Wenxuan had already guessed what he meant. He knew that Yu Haoran was doing his best to help him before he left Medicine King Valley. In half an hour, I will prepare to refine the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Pill. Brother Xiang can invite the alchemists who are on good terms with you to come and observe, Yu Haoran suggested with a smile. I can really do that, Xiang Wenxuan confirmed further. Of course you can, Yu Haoran confirmed with a nod. Then I will go now. Xiang Wenxuan stood up happily and cupped his fist to thank Xiang Wenxuan before quickly leaving the pavilion and Earth Source Pavilion. Yu Haoran also got up and left the pavilion. He arrived at the location where he had decided to refine the pills 3 days ago and sat down cross-legged. Brother Hao. He summoned Victor's first doppelganger, which had returned to his sea of consciousness a day ago. Brother Yu. After leaving Victor, the first doppelganger, sitting cross-legged in the sea of consciousness, responded. Are you ready? Yu Haoran asked. Don't worry, Brother Yu. Just do it, the first clone said. After receiving encouragement from the first doppelganger, Yu Haoran directly took out the pill furnace and placed it in front of him. Then he took out 108 types of spiritual herbs from his storage ring and placed them beside him in the order of melting and refining. Then he closed his eyes and began to adjust his energy. Half an hour later, Yu Haoran suddenly opened his eyes as his essence, qi, and soul reached their peak state. He placed one hand on the alchemy furnace to activate the alchemy fire, while his other hand placed one spirit herb after another into the alchemy furnace, according to the order he had arranged beforehand. Just as Yu Haoran began to melt and refine the spiritual herbs to refine the 5 lives profound gate pill, Xiang Wenxuan, who had summoned his friends and juniors, brought some people to the Earth Source Pavilion. According to the number of people Xiang Wenxuan had given at the beginning, there should not have been more than 10 people present to observe the pill refinement. However, there were now more than 30 people following him into the Earth Source Pavilion. Xiang Wenxuan felt helpless about this, but there was nothing he could do. After all, 40 years of care and nurturing made it impossible for him to refuse Gu Zi's final request. After entering the Earth Source Pavilion, he saw Yu Haoran, who had already begun to melt and refine the spiritual herbs. Xiang Wenxuan hurriedly signaled for everyone to be quiet and warned them with his divine sense. Everyone, all of you were present at the scene of what happened 3 days ago. I'm sure you know that Grandmaster Yu's temper is not very good. Therefore, I hope that everyone can abide by our previous agreement and maintain absolute silence to avoid provoking Grandmaster Yu's displeasure. The bloody scene from 3 days ago was still fresh in everyone's minds. How could they possibly provoke Yu Haoran at this time? Furthermore, it could be said that being able to observe Grandmaster Yu's pill refinement techniques was a once-in-a-century opportunity. They could not possibly lose the opportunity to observe because of their own reasons. As stalk after stalk of spiritual herbs were rapidly melted and refined by the pill fire, Yu Haoran found that his speculation was correct. The pill fire of the pill furnace had been upgraded twice in a row, and its power had increased by at least 10 times. The speed at which it melted and refined the spiritual herbs had far surpassed the speed at which Xiang Wenxuan had used all of his strength to melt and refine the spiritual herbs in the Qin Yuan Guild Hall. This also made him completely relieved, and his confidence in refining the 5 lives abstruse gate pill increased by 100-fold. 1.5 hours later, as the last spiritual herb was melted and refined by the pill furnace's pill fire, Yu Haoran called out to the first doppelganger in his spiritual sea. He then took out a few pills that contained soul power and a rank 5 grade 9 spirit stone. With the help of the scorching spiritual qi, he began to recover the soul power and yuan li that he had just consumed. Although he had used the pills and spirit stones to recover the soul power and yuan li that he had consumed, the spiritual liquid in the pill furnace did not stop condensing. This was because the first doppelganger was using the arm he had placed on the pill furnace to further purify and solidify the spiritual liquid in the pill furnace. Boom! Because the atmosphere was very quiet, everyone present could clearly feel the first dark thunder that formed when the 5 lives abstruse gate pill was condensed. Those who were watching Yu Haoran refine pill for the first time were extremely shocked when they heard the dark thunder coming from the pill furnace. Xiang Wenxuan, on the other hand, frowned slightly. This was because he realized that when Yu Haoran refined the 5 lives abstruse gate pill this time, The refining method was completely different from when he was in the Qingyuan Guild Hall's Qingyao Pavilion. Could it be that Yu Haoran still had a special method to refine the 5 lives abstruse gate pill? Half an hour later, as the soul power and Yuan Li returned to their peak, the first doppelganger in the spiritual sea gradually became a little tired. Yu Haoran immediately withdrew his hand from the pill furnace, and then quickly formed a seal with his 10 fingers, taking over the first doppelganger to continue purifying and solidifying the spiritual liquid. Through the second perfect coordination, the spiritual liquid in the pill furnace had completely solidified into a pill. The next step was to divide the pill and form a pill. There was no need for the help of the first doppelganger. Therefore, the first doppelganger immediately returned to Victor, and then used Victor's ability to accelerate time to continue comprehending the pill master's inheritance. This would increase the success rate of refining the ice-hard jade bone pill. Just as Yu Haoran was using the pill fire in the pill furnace to continue nourishing the pill, 2 men and 1 woman suddenly appeared in the Earth Origin Pavilion. When he turned around and saw the 2 men and 1 woman who had suddenly appeared in the Earth Origin Pavilion, Xiang Wenxuan's expression couldn't help but change. He originally wanted to use his divine sense to question the silver-haired old man, but the other old man in embroidered clothes used his divine sense to warn him in advance. Wenxuan, since you have already left the Medicine King Valley, you have no right to interfere with anything that happens in the Medicine King Valley's Earth Origin Pavilion. Chapter 692, Medicine King Valley, Earth Origin Pavilion. Faced with the threat of the elder in embroidered robes, Xiang Wenxuan's face turned red with anger. Although he wanted to retaliate, he considered that if he did, he would not be able to control the burning anger in his heart and affect Yu Haoran's pill refinement. Therefore, after glaring at the silver-haired elder and the elder in embroidered robes with dissatisfaction, Xiang Wenxuan's attention returned to Yu Haoran, who was about to start dividing the pills. The girl among the 2 men and 1 woman was about 17 or 18 years old. She had long hair and a slender figure, but her appearance was extremely ugly. When she saw Yu Haoran sitting cross-legged on the ground with one hand pressed on the pill furnace with an extremely focused expression, the girl could not help but cover her mouth in shock as an expression of disbelief appeared in her eyes. However, everyone's attention was completely focused on Yu Haoran, who was about to divide the pills. No one noticed the girl's shocked reaction, including the silver-haired elder and the elder in embroidered robes who had brought her into the Earth Origin Pavilion. Raising his head to look at the dark clouds above his head that had been attracted by the pill condensation, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and withdrew his hand from the pill furnace. Then his 10 fingers quickly formed the hand seal for dividing the pills. Perhaps it was because he had the experience of refining the 5 lives profound gate pill, or perhaps it was because of the second advancement of the pill fire in the pill furnace, as well as the help of the first clone of the alchemy venerable. This time, the process of dividing the pills was not only very smooth. There were a total of 5 pills, and the color of each pill and the density of the spiritual energy contained within were all very outstanding. They completely had the ability to withstand the lightning tribulation. 10 minutes later, as the pill fire in the pill furnace had warmed the 5 pills to the point where they were ready to come out of the furnace, Yu Haoran raised his head to look at the sky again. The joy that had surged in his heart from the successful pill refinement was instantly dispelled by the dark clouds above his head. This was because the density of the dark clouds this time was at least 10 times thicker than when he had refined the 5 lives profound gate pill in the Qingyuan Guild Hall. This also meant that the power of the pill tribulation was more than 10 times that of the first pill tribulation. He did not know how many 5 lives profound gate pills he would be able to form after successfully dividing the 5 pills. But no matter how many 5 lives profound gate pills were formed in the end, even if all of them were destroyed in the lightning tribulation. Now that he had reached the critical moment, Yu Haoran could only temporarily suppress the messy thoughts in his heart and condense the pill imprint. Success! Following Yu Haoran's shout, 5 sparkling and translucent pills flew out of the pill furnace at the same time and floated in the air. Immediately, 5-hair-thin lightning bolts shot out from the dark clouds above his head. Seeing the 5 medicinal pills withstand the first lightning tribulation, the might of which was similar to the one at the Clear Source Guildhall, Yuhauran's nervous mood relaxed a little. When the second, third, and fourth bolts of tribulation lightning were about the same in power as the one in the Clear Source Guildhall, and were easily blocked by the 5 pills, he was almost completely relieved. However, when the dark clouds accumulated the 5th lightning tribulation far longer than the one at the Clear Source Guildhall, his relaxed mood immediately tensed up again. When the power of the lightning tribulation accumulated in the dark clouds reached its limit, 5 lightning dragons condensed from lightning bolts flew out and roared as they charged towards the 5 medicinal pills floating in the air. Yuhauran was so shocked that he almost stood up. However, his strong mental state cultivation allowed him to suppress his shock and continue to sit cross-legged and watch. The crowd watching the scene was dumbfounded as they watched the 5 lightning dragons hovering in the air and roaring at the medicinal pills. This was because they had never seen or even heard of a lightning tribulation transforming into a dragon in the cultivation of the pill Tao. After the 5 lightning dragons swallowed the 5 medicinal pills, the entire Earth Source Pavilion became so quiet that even the sound of breathing could be heard clearly. Everyone's attention was now focused on the lightning dragons hovering in the air after swallowing the 5 medicinal pills. Boom! As the first lightning dragon exploded, a pill the size of a longan and completely transparent medicinal pill floated in the air. His heart, which had just been tensed up, immediately relaxed by half. With 1 medicinal pill successfully passing the lightning tribulation, it at least proved that he had the ability to refine the 5 lives profound gate pill on his own. It also increased his confidence in refining the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill on his own. Boom! As the second lightning dragon exploded, a second pill the size of a longan and the same transparent medicinal pill was revealed. Yuhauran was completely relieved. Of the 2 5 lives profound gate pills, one would be given to his master to greatly increase his mental state cultivation. The other would be used as a betrothal gift to raise the reputation of Clear Cloud Peak and himself. Boom! As the third lightning dragon exploded and revealed the 3rd medicinal pill that had successfully passed the lightning tribulation, Yuhauran's face instantly revealed a happy smile. 3 medicinal pills, which meant that the 5 lives profound gate pill this time was not only very successful, but the quality of the medicinal pills were also far better than the first 5 lives profound gate pill. It was even more beneficial for increasing his confidence in refining the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. More importantly, 1 more 5 lives profound gate pill meant that he had 1 more trump card to use in the negotiations with the Medicine King Valley. Therefore, when he saw the 4th and 5th lightning dragons explode, apart from 2 piles of black ashes, he wasn't too disappointed. With a wave of his hand, he collected the black ashes floating in the air and watched as the dense clouds and lightning above his head began to transform into milky white energy. When the dense clouds and lightning that had reached a length of 5 meters had all transformed into milky white energy, Yuhauran closed his eyes and allowed the strong suction force to automatically form in his body to devour the milky white energy in the air. After that, he secretly used the Great Mystery Heart Sutra and the Star Fighting Mantra to completely eliminate the hidden dangers that might continue to exist after his uncontrolled advancement. He also further strengthened his foundation and raised his own potential. But it was a pity that when he was at the Qingyuan Guild Hall, there was only 1 5 lives profound gate pill that was the reward from the heavenly way after he separated from the lightning tribulation. It allowed him to borrow the milky white energy and benefit greatly in the end. And this time, there were 3 5 lives profound gate pills competing with him for the milky white energy. This allowed him to use the milky white energy to eliminate the hidden dangers that even the Fouling Formation did not detect. The milky white energy that was transformed by the dense clouds and lightning in the air was completely absorbed. Regarding this, Yu Haoran was only slightly disappointed, but he did not care too much. Then, with a wave of his sleeve, he directly put away the 5 lives profound gate pills. Yu Haoran, the Medicine King Valley will take these 3 5 lives profound gate pills. Just name your price. Just when Yu Haoran had just put away the 3 5 lives profound gate pills, a deep but very domineering voice suddenly came from behind him. Chapter 693, Medicine King Valley, Earth Source Pavilion. Head was a term used to describe wild beasts and strange beasts under normal circumstances. After hearing Yu Haoran's mocking words, the face of the old man in embroidered clothes, who had demanded the 5 lives mysterious gate elixir in an overbearing manner, darkened. Then, a thick murderous aura condensed into a pill furnace and smashed heavily towards Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran did not panic in the slightest in the face of the alchemy furnace formed by the dense murderous aura. He also used his own murderous aura to condense the murderous aura into a flood dragon with the help of the 7 transformations of the flood dragon to meet the incoming alchemy furnace. Although the murderous aura had already reached a substantial level, it was limited by one's cultivation and the effects of killing. The quantity and quality of the murderous aura could not be compared to the energy in the Danteon. Therefore, the flood dragon condensed by the murderous aura was only about 3 meters long. It was simply no match for the pill furnace condensed by the old man's murderous aura. Yu Haoran couldn't help but shake his head in disappointment as he watched the flood dragon condensed by the murderous aura collide with the pill furnace and shatter into pieces. However, he didn't really care. Using the flood dragon condensed by the murderous aura to meet the pill furnace was mainly to show his attitude that he would never yield. His true trump card was the spirit vein spirit that had been secretly observing him. Could it be that you don't want to eradicate the poison of the life-devouring elixir? Yu Haoran lowered his head to the ground and threatened softly. Following Yu Haoran's threat, a transparent defensive barrier instantly appeared in front of him and smashed the pill furnace into pieces. Yu Haoran, what kind of technique is this? Although he was shocked by Yu Haoran's murderous aura at such a young age, what really shocked him was the defensive barrier that had suddenly appeared, because that defensive barrier gave him a very familiar feeling. Yu Haoran glanced coldly at the old man in embroidered robes before turning around. He then used medicinal pills and spirit stones, as well as the scorching spiritual energy in the Earth Origin Pavilion, to recover the soul power and origin energy he had used to refine the 5 lives profound gate. Yu Haoran, do you know who I am? Seeing Yu Haoran ignore him, the old man in embroidered clothes shouted with a ferocious expression, forcibly demanding the 5 lives mystery gate pill and indiscriminately trying to kill me. Yu Haoran, such an unreasonable and insidious villain. In the entire Medicine King Valley, except for the famous head Elder Gao Shengjie, I'm afraid no one would dare to do this. In any case, he had the protection of a high-grade rank 3 spirit vein. No one could do anything to him. Therefore, Yu Haoran had originally planned to ignore the old man. But after hearing the old man's arrogant question, he finally couldn't help but mock him. Since you know who I am, why don't you hurry up and state the conditions for the 3 5 lives mystery gate pills? Otherwise, the 3 5 lives mystery gate pills will be your reward for using the Earth Origin Pavilion to refine pills. Gao Shengjie was enraged by Yu Haoran's mockery and shamelessly threatened him. Gao Shengjie, you can give it a try. Yu Haoran coldly glared at Gao Shengjie, provoking him with disdain. Head Elder, have you had enough? At first, he wasn't willing to counter Gao Shengjie's threat because he was worried that it would affect Yu Haoran's refining. Now that Yu Haoran had succeeded in refining the pills and the head elder was shamelessly demanding the 5 lives mystery gate pill, Xiang Wenshuan was furious. He didn't need to suppress his anger anymore and directly reprimanded Yu Haoran. As the mentor of the thousands of alchemists in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, your actions just now are not worthy of the title of mentor. Aren't you afraid that the thousands of alchemists in the valley will be disappointed and leave the Valley of the medicine masters like me. Xiang Wenxuan, you are no longer an elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. You have no right to interfere in the matters of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. If you continue to cause trouble, I will kill you on the spot in the name of an enemy invasion. After hearing Xiang Wenxuan's words, Gao Xingjie didn't feel the slightest bit of emotion and continued to threaten him with a sinister expression. Gao, if you dare to touch a single hair on Brother Xiang's head, do you believe that I won't cripple you? Yu Haoran, who had originally wanted to ignore Gao Xingjie, threatened him furiously when he saw that Gao Xingjie was about to make a move on Xiang Wenxuan. You dare threaten me? Gao Xingjie couldn't help but laugh coldly in the face of Yu Haoran's threat, and then walked towards Xiang Wenxuan step by step. Head Elder, what's the matter with you? The silver-haired old man who had followed the head elder into the Earth Origin Pavilion was the valley head of the Medicine Masters, Guzi. Guzi frowned and asked when he saw that the head elder seemed to have lost control of his mind and was about to kill Xiang Wenxuan in front of everyone. His impression of the head elder was that he was a very gentle person who did things politely and tactfully. Otherwise, he wouldn't have handed over most of the authority in the valley to the head elder. Actually, Guzi wasn't the only one who didn't understand why the head elder had lost control of himself. All the alchemists of the medicine masters present had puzzled expressions on their faces. Unfortunately, the head elder didn't seem to have heard Guzi's reprimand and continued to walk towards Xiang Wenxuan with a sinister expression. He obviously wanted to kill Xiang Wenxuan in return for Yu Haoran's earlier threat. Forcefully using heavenly treasures to raise his cultivation to the peak of the 9th grade martial saint has caused his foundation to be weak and his mind to be unstable. Yu Haoran stood up and informed the spirit vein soul to be ready to attack at any time as he repeated Thaling's judgment. Facing the 5 lives profound gate pill that can help one break through to the 3rd tribulation of the quasi-martial honorable realm, he has completely lost control of his mind. At this point, Yu Haoran couldn't help but gloat at Guzi's misfortune. Valley Head, if we allow Gao Xingjie to continue like this, he will completely lose control of his mind in at most 10 minutes and trigger a backlash from his inner demons. Eventually, he will go berserk and his soul will be destroyed. Yu Haoran, how can we save the head elder? After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation and combining it with the head elder's somewhat crazy state, Guzi knew that his earlier warning wasn't an exaggeration and immediately asked anxiously. First, he let the spirit vein soul set up a defensive barrier in front of Xiang Wenxuan to prevent Gao Xingjie's sudden outburst from harming Xiang Wenxuan. Then, he looked coldly at Guzi and said, Valley Head, I don't care about the conflict that happened 3 days ago and allowed the alchemists in the valley to observe the alchemy techniques on the spot. This is enough for the Medicine King Valley. But how did Gao Xingjie treat me? At this point, Yu Haoran pointed at Gao Xingjie and reprimanded him with an angry expression. He directly asked for 3 5 lives profound gate pills. If he couldn't get them, he directly used the pill furnace condensed from his murderous aura to kill me. Now, he wants to kill my brother Xiang Wenxuan. Chapter 694. Valley of the Medicine Masters, Earth Origin Pavilion. Yu Haoran, name your price. Facing Yu Haoran's angry accusation, Guzi, who had already guessed his true thoughts, couldn't help but laugh coldly in his heart, then said coldly, An alchemy grandmaster whose name shakes the entire profound sky continent, an expert at the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm who can influence the entire world, I wonder how much the first elder is worth in Valley Lord's eyes. Yu Haoran asked in a similarly cold manner. After closing his eyes and thinking for a while, Guzi opened his eyes and said, One chance to enter the Pill Scripture Pavilion. Not enough. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran rejected flatly. In his previous life, he had used poison to help the Valley of the Medicine Masters kill a mortal enemy who was proficient in the law of speed, thus obtaining the chance to enter the Pill Scripture Pavilion. He was full of admiration for the Alchemy Sutra Pavilion's collection of countless alchemy secrets, thousands of alchemy recipes of different grades, and personal notes of the Grandmaster and Great Grandmaster realms. However, due to time constraints, he could only record 6 pill recipes and read the personal notes of the 3 pill Tao Grandmasters. Therefore, after his rebirth, he had thought of entering the Pill Scripture Pavilion. But just one chance to enter the Pill Scripture Pavilion was not enough for him to save Gao Xingjie. Because the way to save Gao Xingjie was to use the 5 lives profound gate pill that made him lose control of his mind. One chance to use the sacred pond to cleanse the marrow. Knowing that Yu Haoran would not fulfill this condition, Gu Zi continued to say, using the sacred pond to cleanse the marrow, achieve a complete transformation, and have the potential to become Emperor Wu. Could it be that your Valley of the Medicine Master's experiment has already succeeded? Hearing Gu Zi's second condition, Yu Haoran asked in shock. The sacred pond to cleanse the marrow was proposed by the 7th Valley Lord of the Medicine Master's Valley. The 7th Valley Lord of the Valley of the Medicine Masters was a person with very ordinary talent in martial arts and alchemy, but his tenacious willpower, fearless courage, and inexplicable luck allowed him to stand out from millions of ordinary people and finally become a great grandmaster at the pinnacle of alchemy. Feeling the disparagement he suffered because of his innate talent, as well as the various sufferings he endured, Yang Kai, who had a kind heart, wanted to use the method of alchemy to create a kind of secret treasure that could achieve rebirth and improve one's potential. The sacred pond to cleanse the marrow was created with this idea. However, after tens of thousands of years and hundreds of Valley Lords' efforts and experiments, this secret treasure had never been successfully refined. Even before his rebirth, when he lived the sacred pond to cleanse the marrow was still in the experimental stage. Therefore, he was shocked when Gu Zi proposed to use the Saint Pond's marrow cleansing artifact. The sacred pond marrow cleansing artifact was not a secret in Medicine King's Valley, so Yu Haoran being aware of the sacred pond marrow cleansing artifact's effects did not surprise Gu Zi. Shaking his head, Gu Zi explained, the sacred pond's marrow cleansing artifact has not been successfully refined, but it has the heaven-defying effect of directly increasing one's cultivation without any side effects. The sacred pill. Gu Zi pill. After hearing Gu Zi's explanation, Yu Haoran was disappointed and shook his head. As a grandmaster at the peak of the pill Tao, I have many ways to directly improve my cultivation. I don't need the sacred pond to cleanse the marrow, so this condition doesn't count. Seeing that Yu Haoran was not interested in the sacred pond to directly improve his cultivation, Gu Zi was slightly disappointed. Then, he proposed a third condition. One chance to receive the inheritance of the alchemy master. Valley Lord, you're not being honest. Yu Haoran couldn't help but sneer when he heard that Gu Zi's third condition was the inheritance of the alchemy master. When I first entered the Valley of the Medicine Masters, you promised me that you would give me a chance to receive the inheritance of the alchemy master. Why are you using the inheritance of the alchemy master as a condition now? Grandmaster Yu, I promised you a chance to receive the inheritance of the alchemy master. In the face of Yu Haoran's sarcasm, Gu Zi was not angry at all. Instead, he retorted politely, but the condition is that I help you complete the refining of the 5 Lives Mystery Pill and the Ice Heart Jade Bone Elixir. I also want to observe your refining techniques at a close distance. At this point, Gu Zi looked straight into Yu Haoran's eyes and asked, but how did you do it? This. In the face of Gu Zi's rebuttal, Yu Haoran was suddenly speechless and didn't know how to refute. Although 3 days ago, he refused to refine the 5 Lives Mystery Pill and the Ice Heart Jade Bone Elixir on the spot because of the conflict with Xia Yingjie. All of this had little to do with Gu Zi. So, in the end, it was he who broke the agreement first. However, the first clone had successfully received the inheritance of the alchemy master. Now, the inheritance of the alchemy master in the medicine field was only an empty shell. How could he be willing to accept this condition? So, Yu Haoran pretended to be unhappy and shook his head to refuse. I have to walk my own path. I am no longer interested in the inheritance of the alchemy master, so this condition doesn't count. You. In the face of Yu Haoran, who took the initiative to give up the inheritance of the alchemy master, it was Gu Zi's turn to be speechless and didn't know what to say. Because the inheritance of the alchemy master was his trump card to force Yu Haoran to agree to save the first elder. But if Yu Haoran refused to accept the inheritance of the alchemy master, then he, who had lost his trump card, really didn't know what price he could pay in exchange for Yu Haoran's help. Valley Master, let me make the conditions. Seeing Gu Zi in deep thought, Yu Haoran knew that he had not thought of the conditions to save the first elder at all. Although taking the initiative to make conditions was not conducive to the next negotiation, Yu Haoran didn't want to and couldn't continue to delay. Because the first elder, who had started to attack the defensive shield set up by the spiritual vain divine soul, was getting more and more out of control. If he continued to delay, he was afraid that the 5 lives mystery pill would lose its effect to save him. Say it. Gu Zi's spirit was lifted and he hurriedly signaled. But then, worried that Yu Haoran would ask for too much, Gu Zi immediately put forward a limited condition. Grandmaster Yu, including the opportunity to enter the alchemy chamber, you can only make 2 conditions at most. Okay. Yu Haoran, who had only intended to make 2 conditions, nodded in agreement. Then, he said his first condition. The spiritual herbs in the 10,000 mu of herb field, without any restrictions on the grade and type, I can choose 10. This. In the face of Yu Haoran's first condition, Gu Zi immediately fell into a dilemma. Because in the 10,000 mu of herb field, in addition to the ordinary spiritual herbs, there were a few rare spiritual herbs around the 3rd level. He was worried that Yu Haoran's real target was the rare spiritual herbs that had been cultivated for thousands of years. And those rare spiritual herbs were also one of the key means of the Medicine King Valley's strength in the future. Chapter 695. Valley of the Medicine Masters, Earth Source Pavilion. All right, I agree. After hearing Yu Haoran's warning, Gu Zi hurriedly turned his head to look at the great elder who was frantically attacking the defensive barrier. Finally, he gritted his teeth and agreed. The second condition is that the valley head swears by the heavenly Tao that you, including all the martial sages in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, cannot take revenge on Xiang Wenshuan after he leaves the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Otherwise, your soul will fall into hell forever. Brother Yu, you don't have to waste such a good opportunity for me. Hearing Yu Haoran use one of the 2 conditions to guarantee his safety after leaving the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Xiang Wenshuan was touched and hurriedly tried to persuade him. Yu Haoran shook his head at Xiang Wenshuan, indicating that he didn't need to say anything more. He looked at Gu Zi and waited for his reply. Using one of the 2 conditions to ensure Xiang Wenshuan's safety was not only to please Xiang Wenshuan and lay the groundwork for recruiting him in the future, but also to test Gu Zi to see what he was thinking when he readily agreed to Xiang Wenshuan's request some time ago. Was he willing, or did he have evil intentions? This. Faced with Yu Haoran's second condition, Gu Zi seemed a little hesitant. Yu Haoran couldn't help but sneer at his hesitation. It also made Xiang Wenshuan angry and completely give up on Gu Zi and the Valley of the Medicine Masters. 3 minutes, at most 3 minutes, the Great Elder will completely lose control of his mind and trigger a backlash from his inner demons. Seeing that Gu Zi didn't reply for a long time, Yu Haoran continued to remind him with a sneer. I, Gu Zi, swear by the heavenly Tao that from today onwards, I, including all the martial sages in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, will never take revenge on Xiang Wenshuan. Yu Haoran's reminder was like a death sentence. After a short consideration, Gu Zi decided to swear by the heavenly Tao in exchange for the Great Elder's recovery. After all, comparing a pill grandmaster to a pill grandmaster, a peak 9th grade martial king to a peak 9th grade martial saint, it was clear who was more important. If you break the oath, your soul will fall into hell forever. Here, after hearing Gu Zi swear by the heavenly Tao, Yu Haoran took out a 5 lives profound gate pill that he had just refined and threw it to Gu Zi. Not only can the profound gate of 5 lives pill calm the uncontrollable state of mind, it can also help him pass through the heart tribulation of the quasi-martial honorable realm with the help of the medicinal power of the 5 lives reincarnation dream. From there, he can become the strongest person in the Tianxian continent. So, you didn't lose out in the exchange just now. Reaching out to take the 5 lives mysterious gate pill, Guzi coldly glanced at Yuhaoran, then closed his eyes and contacted the soul of the rank 3 upper-grade spiritual vein. After all, the first elder's strength was too strong, and he was in a state where he had lost control of his mind. At this moment, no one dared to approach him. Therefore, he could only rely on the stronger spirit vein divine soul to suppress the great elder so that he could help the great elder consume the 5 lives profound gate pill. After instructing the spirit vein divine soul to help the grains, Yuhaoran turned around and walked towards the pill furnace. His gaze inadvertently glanced at the incomparably ugly girl. Then, he used his divine telepathy to call out to her. Junior Ming, I really didn't think that you and I would meet again in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. That's right. The ugly girl who had followed the great elder into the Earth Source Pavilion was a disciple from the 100 Chi Gates Heart Moon sect. She was also Meng Yujia, whom he had befriended in the Blue Moon Secret Realm. Originally, according to the trajectory of events in his previous life, it should have been when the Valley Master of the Medicine Masters was out traveling, passing by the Heart Moon sect, and accidentally discovering Meng Yujia's outstanding talent in cultivating spiritual medicine. Then, Guzi changed his name to Yao Lao and secretly conducted a comprehensive test on Meng Yujia. After the test, Guzi was not only very satisfied with her temperament and character, but also discovered that she had the body of the medicine spirit, which was ranked 25th among the tens of thousands of unique body constitutions. Therefore, after Guzi revealed his true identity in the Heart Moon sect, he publicly accepted Meng Yujia as his disciple and brought her back to the Valley of the Medicine Masters, officially starting her future path to becoming a strong person. However, with his rebirth and his involvement in many things, he had changed the trajectory of many things in the future. Yuhaoran discovered that Meng Yujia had been brought back to the Valley of the Medicine Masters at least half a year earlier. Moreover, based on the few days he had stayed in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, he knew that the person who had been traveling during this period was the Great Elder. This also meant that the Great Elder had discovered her outstanding talent in the way of the pill and had taken the initiative to accept her as his disciple and bring her back to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. He saw from the corner of his eye that Meng Yujia was about to open her mouth to speak and quickly used his divine sense to remind her. Junior Meng, don't speak. You also saw what happened just now. My relationship with the Valley of the Medicine Masters is not very harmonious. If the people of the Valley of the Medicine Masters know of our relationship, I'm afraid they won't make use of your future cultivation and life in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. He saw Meng Yujia biting her lips and knew that she had a lot to say to him. He thought for a moment and said, Junior Meng, I will leave a tracking divine sense on your body and promise that when I leave the Valley of the Medicine Masters, I will definitely see you alone. Apart from bonding, Yuhaoran's real intention was to pave the way for him to win over Meng Yujia in the future. After all, with the spirit medicine body ranked 25th among the thousands of special body constitutions, Meng Yujia's future achievements in the way of the pill would at least be at the peak of the Sage Realm, which was the peak of the Pill Grandmaster Realm. If combined with the careful guidance of the first clone, it was very likely that she would become a Pill Emperor. If Qingyun Peak had both Xiang Wenxuan and Meng Yujia, 2 Pill Masters with unlimited potential in the way of the pill, Qingyun Peak would very likely become another holy land of the Pill Dao in the future. After all, the Valley of the Medicine Masters that had lost the level 3 upper spirit vein and the inheritance of the Pill Venerable were inevitable in the future. After hearing Yuhaoran's promise, Meng Yujia's face immediately revealed a happy smile. She looked at Yuhaoran with eyes full of surprise and trust. Returning to the pill furnace, he sat down cross-legged and continued to use the pills that he had just swallowed to recover the soul power and yuan qi that he had used to refine the 5 Lives Abstruse Gate pill. With the help of the level 3 upper spirit vein, Gu Zi finally delivered the 5 Lives Abstruse Gate pill into the mouth of the head elder. And Gao Shangjia, who had consumed the 5 Lives Abstruse Gate pill, gradually calmed down. "Master Yu, I was rude just now. I apologize to you here." Gao Shangjia, who had regained his consciousness, took the lead to apologize to Yu Haoran. "It's okay." In response, Yu Haoran did not turn back and only responded indifferently. "Yu Jia, Master needs to use the 5 Lives Abstruse Gate pill to overcome a tribulation, so the ceremony will be held again after I overcome the tribulation." Facing Yu Haoran's cold response, Gao Shangjia did not mind and looked at Meng Yujia with a gentle expression. Chapter 696. Valley of the Medicine Masters, Earth Origin Pavilion. Seeing that his new disciple was so obedient and sensible, Gao Shangjia smiled with gratification. Then, he looked at Gu Zi and stopped smiling. He ordered with a serious expression, "Valley Master, send me back to Yu Pavilion immediately. I want to borrow the effect of the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill to pass the test and become a martial honorable. Elder, don't worry. I will entrust the Venerable Dragon God and the other 3 martial honorables to protect me in secret." Gu Zi used his origin energy to wrap around Gao Shangjia and brought him out of Earth Origin Pavilion while whispering in his ear. Nodding, Gao Shangjia did not say anything else. He closed his eyes and gradually entered the dream realm. After more than 10 minutes of recuperation, Yu Haoran's soul power and elemental energy had fully recovered, allowing his essence, energy, and spirit to return to their peak. He took out the 365 spiritual herbs needed to refine the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill from his storage ring and arranged them according to the order of melting and refining. "Brother Yu, do you need my help?" Seeing that Yu Haoran was surrounded by spirit herbs of different grades and types, when Xian was worried that Yu Haoran would not be able to refine so many spirit herbs in one go, so he suggested to one Xian. After shaking his head and rejecting Xiang Wenshuan's kind intentions, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and extended his right hand to press on the pill furnace. He mobilized his Yuan power to drive the Dantian flame, while his left hand threw stock after stock of elixir into the pill furnace. In his mind, not only was the first clone ready to receive him, the second clone had placed many pills and level 4 spirit stones in front of it. Although the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill was 1 grade higher than the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill, both pills were aimed at the Martial Honorable's 3rd Calamity Gate pill. There was not much difference in their effects. The reason why the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill required twice as many spiritual herbs as the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill was because it required a more comprehensive effect. However, the grade of the spiritual herbs was not very high. Therefore, it would take 1.5 hours to refine the 108 spiritual herbs needed for the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill. Now, in 1.5 hours, he had already melted and purified more than 210 types of spiritual herbs. Of course, his soul power and elemental energy had already reached their limits. "Brother An," Yu Haoran separated a strand of his consciousness and called out to the second clone in his sea of consciousness. The second clone immediately poured all of his soul power and origin energy into Yu Haoran's Dantian and sea of consciousness. After that, he immediately swallowed a pill that he had prepared beforehand. Holding a rank 4 grade 1 spirit stone in his hand, he began to restore the soul power and origin energy he had transferred to Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, who had recovered to his peak after receiving all of the soul power and elemental energy from the second doppelganger, instantly regained his initial speed of refining spirit herbs. However, as he refined more and more spirit herbs, the volume of spirit liquid condensed in the pill furnace also increased, requiring him to expend more soul power and origin power to maintain it. This caused the second half of the extraction process to not only take longer and longer, but also consumed more soul power and elemental energy. In total, He borrowed the second clone's soul power and elemental energy input 6 times before he barely managed to melt and purify all 365 types of spirit herbs. Fortunately, in the refining process of the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill, he was able to successfully refine the spirit herbs, which was the most difficult and also the most uncertain part of the refining process. After that, his right hand continued to press on the pill furnace while his left hand swallowed a large number of pills. Yu Haoran hurriedly recovered his soul power and origin energy that had been depleted to the limit. The second doppelganger in his sea of consciousness immediately formed seals with its 10 fingers and began to compress and refine the spirit liquid that was about the size of 3 watermelons in the pill furnace. Oppressive. Just as the second doppelganger began to compress and solidify the spirit liquid through the seal, the originally clear sky gradually darkened. The entire Earth Origin Pavilion was filled with an extremely oppressive atmosphere. Unlike refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Pill, the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Pill had dark clouds above it due to dark lightning. Although the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill did not have dark lightning during the pill condensation process, it was still heaven-defying. Not only did it directly change the weather in a certain area, but the entire Medicine King Valley was also shrouded in dark clouds. After making arrangements for the first elder, Gu Zi returned to the Earth Origin Pavilion. When he sensed the strange phenomenon occurring in the Earth Origin Pavilion, he immediately took out 4 night luminescent pearls that emitted a dazzling light from his storage ring and placed them in the 4 corners of the Earth Origin Pavilion. This was so that the pill refiners present would not miss the opportunity to use pills and spirit stones to recover their soul power and origin power and take over the first doppelganger's pill condensation technique due to the sudden darkness. As the pill condensation imprints were imprinted on the spirit liquid in the pill furnace one after another, the spirit liquid that had been compressed by the first doppelganger continued to shrink and its color gradually became brighter. You do it, I do it, I do it. After 9 rounds of perfect coordination with the first doppelganger, the spirit liquid that was originally the size of 3 watermelons was finally compressed and purified into a pill the size of an apple. Yu Haoran gestured to the second clone in his sea of consciousness to continue channeling all of his soul power and origin energy into his sea of consciousness and Dantian. Then, he placed both of his hands on the pill furnace and activated the strongest power of the pill furnace's fire. He began to compress and refine the solidified pills one last time. When the apple-sized pill was compressed to the size of a walnut, Yu Haoran immediately reduced the input of origin power and quietly weakened the pill fire's power to begin the nourishing stage. Brother Hao, Brother Ran, thank you for your hard work. You should return to the victor to rest first. Yu Haoran said to the 2 doppelgangers in his knowledge, see as he used pills and spirit stones to recover his soul power and origin power. Brother Yu, there are 3 most important steps in refining the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill, indicating for the second doppelganger to return to the realm spirit. The first doppelganger instructed Yu Haoran. The first step is to extract the spirit herbs. The second step is to solidify the spirit liquid. And the third step is to nourish the spirit. Although we are not 100% perfect in extracting the spirit herbs and solidifying the spirit liquid, we can still satisfy the final requirement of forming the pill. The third step, nourishing the spirit, is related to whether or not the pill can survive the lightning tribulation after it is formed. Therefore, Brother Yu, you must not rush to open the furnace and produce the pill. You must nourish the pill to its limit before you can take it out. Don't worry, Brother Hao. I will remember. Nodding, Yu Haoran indicated that he understood. As the pill and the pill furnace entered the nourishing stage, the dark clouds that shrouded the entire Medicine King Valley became thicker and thicker. The oppressive atmosphere became heavier and heavier. A few disciples with weaker mental states could not bear the oppressive atmosphere and finally took the initiative to leave the Earth Source Pavilion. Chapter 697, Valley of the Medicine Masters, Earth Origin Pavilion. The nourishing process of the Ice Heart Jade Bone Elixir was divided into 2 stages. The first stage was to nourish the compressed and purified elixirs. The second stage was to nourish the elixirs that had been separated. Before the first clone had returned to Victor, he had specifically instructed him to nourish the elixirs that had been separated. After all, the few elixirs that had been separated were the ones that truly had to withstand the lightning tribulation. After successfully overcoming it, they would absorb the power of the lightning tribulation and have the ability to assist a quasi-martial honor in overcoming the body tribulation. Retracting his right hand that had been pressing against the pill furnace, his 10 fingers quickly formed the seal for separating the elixirs and began to separate the elixirs in the pill furnace. The entire process of separating the elixirs went very smoothly. Not only were there 4 elixirs formed in the end, but the quality and purity of each elixir were also very outstanding. This made Howren secretly heave a sigh of relief. Next was the most important and final step of the refining process of the Ice Heart Jade Bone Elixir. He had to nourish the 4 elixirs with all his might so that they would have the ability to withstand the lightning tribulation. As the refining of the Ice Heart Jade Bone Elixir reached its final stage, the black clouds that enveloped the entire valley of the Medicine Masters not only caused the 4 luminous pearls in the Earth Origin Pavilion to lose their dazzling light, but the entire black clouds also rumbled with the sound of thunder, giving off a feeling that the end of the world had arrived. Although the atmosphere in the Earth Origin Pavilion was very oppressive, no one present chose to leave. This was because they knew very well that they might be witnessing a miracle on the path of pill cultivation. And witnessing such a miracle would bring unimaginable benefits to their pill hearts as pill cultivators, as well as their future understanding of pill cultivation. The dark environment did not have much of an effect on Guzi, whose cultivation had reached the martial sage realm. Looking at Howren, who was sitting cross-legged in front of the pill furnace and concentrating on nourishing the elixirs, a trace of struggle surfaced in Guzi's eyes. His struggle was not because he wanted to give up on using the Demon Way secret technique to extract Howren's spiritual body, but because he was considering when to make his move. After nearly 4 days of relentless investigation, even spending a large amount of resources and using the Heavenly Fragrance Pavilion's information network, they still hadn't found a single trace of Zhao Qing. And Howren, who was about to finish refining the Icy Heart Jade Bone Elixir, would probably immediately leave the Valley of the Medicine Masters and head to the Emperor Qin Kingdom to attend his engagement ceremony with Princess Ling Fei. If they did not seize the opportunity to capture Howren before he left the Valley of the Medicine Masters, it would not be so easy to find an opportunity to capture him alive in the future. However, if he were to make a move now, based on the impact of Howren refining the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Elixir and the Icy Heart Jade Bone Elixir, if the alchemists in the valley were to find out, it would have a very negative impact. It might even cause many alchemists to leave the Medicine King Valley. Boom! However, when a thunderous roar came from the black clouds above his head that made even him, a martial sage, tremble in fear, Guzi finally made up his mind. Then, taking advantage of the dark surroundings and the fact that everyone's attention was on Howren, he quietly left the Earth Source Pavilion. After nearly an hour of nourishment, the 4 elixirs in the cauldron had already accumulated to the limit of their energy. If he continued to nourish them, it was very likely that the cauldron would explode. Boom! The elixirs are done. Thus, following the continuous roar above his head, Howren suddenly pressed his hands on the cauldron and roared. Following Howren's roar, 4 elixirs that were slightly larger than a longan flew out of the cauldron. Boom! The moment the 4 elixirs flew out of the cauldron, the lightning tribulation was different from the one for the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Elixir. The lightning accumulated in the black clouds struck the 4 elixirs like a storm. Following the crackling sounds, 2 of the 4 elixirs that flew out of the cauldron were directly blasted into powder. This made Howren, who was already very nervous, unable to help but feel anxious. Fortunately, after the first wave of lightning, The two elixirs that stubbornly withstood the first wave of lightning tribulation became even more sparkling and translucent. Vaguely, veins that resembled human meridians appeared inside the elixirs. You have to hold on. Looking up at the two elixirs floating in the air, Yuhauran secretly prayed. Following Yuhauran's prayer, a giant palm completely condensed from lightning suddenly reached out from the black clouds above his head and fiercely grabbed the two elixirs floating in the air. Hand of punishment. Seeing the hand of lightning reaching out from the black clouds, Yuhauran suddenly stood up and cried out in disbelief. The hand of punishment was a method used by the heavenly Tao to punish people who violated oaths or committed heinous crimes. And he was just refining elixirs to help a quasi-martial, honorable expert pass through the body tribulation. How could it attract the hand of punishment? The alchemy grandmasters present, who also knew the origin of the hand of punishment, immediately retreated with their disciples or relatives. They only stopped when they had exited the Earth Origin Pavilion. Because the hand of punishment was extremely powerful, they were worried that they would suffer an unexpected disaster. Only Xiang Wenxuan and Meng Yujia did not leave. Xiang Wenxuan did not leave because he was willing to accompany Yuhauran to face the hand of punishment. As for Meng Yujia, due to her background, she did not know the origin of the hand of punishment. Yuhauran, don't be nervous. That is not the hand of punishment. It is just an imitation of the lightning tribulation. It does not even have a billionth of the hand of punishment's power. Just as Yuhauran was considering whether to ask Xiang Wenxuan and Meng Yujia to leave the Earth Origin Pavilion, Thaling reminded him in his mind. Thaling, even if it is not the hand of punishment, the two elixirs will not be able to withstand the attack of the lightning palm. Although Thaling's reminder extinguished Yuhauran's thoughts of leaving the Earth Origin Pavilion, he was extremely dejected when he saw the two elixirs about to be destroyed by the lightning palm. That may not be the case. In contrast to Yuhauran's dejection, Thaling was filled with confidence in the two elixirs. The lightning palm directly grabbed the two elixirs and clenched its 5 fingers, intending to crush the two elixirs. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, Yuhauran's tightly clenched palm loosened. The 2 pills were still tenaciously surviving and were not destroyed under the rubbing of the giant palm. This made Yuhauran couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. After failing to destroy the 2 elixirs, the lightning palm did not continue its attack. Instead, it directly exploded. A portion of the lightning formed by the explosion returned to the black clouds, while the rest merged with the 2 elixirs. As for the elixirs that had merged with the lightning, the vein-like patterns became even clearer. The final tribulation. Yuhauran sighed as he looked at the black clouds churning above his head. Chapter 698. Medicine King Valley, Earth Origin Pavilion. The dark clouds above his head accumulated lightning energy for a full 5 minutes. Then, 3 lightning dragons that were over 20 meters long flew out, their bodies emitting dazzling light. Yuhauran, as the person who refined the ice-hard J-bone pill, you are also part of the lightning tribulation this time. Seeing that there were actually 3 lightning dragons flying out of the black clouds, Thaling suddenly thought of a rumor and hurriedly reminded Lin Yin. How can this be? After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yuhauran's first reaction was that he was also part of the tribulation. After all, in his countless adventures in the ruins in his previous life, he had seen countless alchemy masters and grandmasters. Even in the records left behind by the Pill Emperor, he had never heard of alchemy masters having to go through the tribulation with their pills. However, when he saw the 3 lightning dragons flying out of the black clouds, the largest and most powerful one bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws charged towards him, Yuhauran had no choice but to believe the pagoda spirit's warning. He was also one of the people undergoing this pill tribulation. Use the pill furnace to deal with the lightning dragon. However, he had never thought that he would also be attacked by a lightning dragon formed by the lightning tribulation, causing him to be completely unprepared. Even if he used all of his soul power and elemental energy, it would not have any effect against a lightning dragon formed by lightning. Therefore, since his rebirth, this was the first time Yuhauran felt helpless. Luckily, Thaling had already thought of a countermeasure and hurriedly reminded him. After hearing Thaling's reminder, a thought flashed across Yuhauran's mind. He immediately used all of his soul power and elemental energy to throw the pill furnace at the lightning dragon. He was attacked by the lightning dragon because he was the refiner of the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill. Therefore, as the artifact used in the refinement of the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill, the pill furnace was the biggest accomplice. It was probably also an important part of the tribulation. Seeing the pill furnace being thrown over, the lightning dragon did not hesitate at all. It directly opened its mouth and swallowed the pill furnace, then continued to charge at Yuhauran. However, less than 10 meters away, the thunder dragon suddenly stopped and began to writhe in pain. As it writhed in pain, the lightning on the thunder dragon's body gradually dimmed, and its body began to turn illusory. It was as if a pill furnace had been swallowed into its body and was devouring the source of its power. When Lei Long's body became more and more illusory and revealed the pill furnace in his body, Yuhauran discovered that things were as he had guessed. The pill furnace was indeed swallowing the lightning flash. Yuhauran, once the pill furnace finishes devouring the lightning dragon, I'm afraid the pill furnace's pill flame will rise in rank again. Thaling couldn't help but sigh as he watched the pill furnace that was holding the thunder dragon in place and absorbing the lightning energy from its body. Moreover, affected by the advancement of the alchemy fire, the alchemy furnace will probably be restored to a complete top-grade king's domain. In half a year, with the help of countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, his spirit body had recovered to the peak of the martial venerable realm. However, as the main body, Victor still showed no signs of recovery. This made Thaling feel very depressed. Yuhauran, who didn't know Thaling's thoughts, couldn't help but feel ecstatic when he heard that the pill furnace's alchemy fire would rise in rank again and the pill furnace would be restored to a complete top-grade king's domain. Although he wouldn't refine the pill furnace into his natal magic artifact, his first doppelganger who specialized in alchemy and poison pills could do it. When the two pills above his head that were struggling to withstand the bombardment of the lightning dragon passed the lightning tribulation, he would give the pill furnace to his first doppelganger. Boom! Just after the pill furnace successfully swallowed the thunder dragon, one of the thunder dragons that swallowed the pills suddenly exploded, revealing a dragon eye-sized pill in the midst of countless lightning bolts. Its color was crystal clear, and the inside of the pill was engraved with the same patterns as the meridians. Regardless of whether the second pill successfully survived the bombardment of the thunder dragon or not, at least this pill that successfully passed the lightning tribulation allowed him to be completely assured that it could be used as the final betrothal gift and be transferred to Emperor Qin so that he could obtain further attention and protection from Emperor Qin. Boom! Just 3 seconds after the first pill successfully passed the lightning tribulation, the second lightning dragon also self-destructed, revealing a pill that was exactly the same as the first one. Looking at the two pills floating above his head, Yuhauran sat down cross-legged with a smile on his face, and then prepared to accept the reward of the heavenly Tao. It didn't take long before the smile on Yuhauran's face became even wider. This was because the countless lightning bolts in the black clouds above his head condensed into a milky white energy that was almost 5 times the reward of the heavenly Tao after passing the 5 lives mysterious gate pill lightning tribulation. He lowered his head and closed his eyes, allowing the suction force in his body to forcefully devour the milky white energy gathered by the black clouds above his head. Then, with the help of the milky white energy, he continued to expand his foundation and improve his potential. However, to Yuhauran's surprise, the suction force form in his body this time was exactly the same as the 2 pills in the air. This caused his foundation and potential to reach the limit in just 3 minutes. In this regard, Yuhauran did not panic in the slightest. Instead, he directly circulated the Great Mystery Heart Sutra cultivation method and the Stardow art. Then, he used the milky white energy to start a breakthrough in his cultivation and physical body grade. As a special energy rewarded by the heavenly Tao, the milky white energy not only had the heaven-defying effect of being reborn, but also had an unimaginable and shocking effect on the improvement of cultivation and physical body grade. After absorbing the milky white energy for less than 30 seconds, his cultivation at the peak of the 4th grade of martial arts grandmaster successfully broke through to the beginning of the 5th grade of martial arts grandmaster. Furthermore, his cultivation continued to increase. The second after his cultivation broke through, his physical body grade also broke through to the beginning of the 7th grade of martial arts grandmaster and continued to increase. When the milky white energy above his head completely disappeared, his cultivation had already risen to the peak of the 5th grade of martial arts grandmaster, and his physical body grade had also reached the peak of the 7th grade of martial arts grandmaster. If it were not for the fact that he had to spend even more milky white energy to strengthen his foundation and improve his potential after every small breakthrough in his cultivation and physical body grade, his cultivation and physical body grade would definitely have increased by 2 small realms. However, even if this was the case, Yu Haoran was already satisfied. After all, it had only been 10 days since he broke through to the martial arts grandmaster realm. His cultivation and physical body grade had increased by 4 small realms at the same time. Furthermore, his foundation was incomparably firm, and his potential had increased by several times. The results were far better than those monstrous disciples of the 7 top sections. In fact, he did not lose to the core disciples of the inherited families. With a wave of his sleeve, he put away the 2 ice jade heart elixirs that were floating in the air. Then, he carefully observed them. Originally, he thought that the ice jade heart elixirs that were similar to the Hand of Punishment's ice jade heart elixirs might have some changes in their grades. However, the results of his inspection disappointed him. They were still 4th rank, 1st grade. As he put away the ice jade heart elixirs, he also put away the pill furnace. Yu Haoran directly stood up and looked at Xiang Wenxuan with a smile. Chapter 699, Valley of the Medicine Masters, Earth Source Pavilion. To be able to refine the rank 4 1st grade Icy Heart Jade Bone Elixir as a peak alchemy grandmaster was proof that Yu Haoran's understanding of alchemy had already reached the edge of the alchemy grandmaster realm. Next, he only needed to continue accumulating, and within 3 to 5 years, he would definitely be able to break through to the alchemy grandmaster realm. Brother Xiang, the alchemy grandmaster realm is Yu Haoran's journey and also your starting point. Yu Haoran also knew the reason for Xiang Wenxuan's congratulations and encouraged him with a smile. Perhaps the alchemy grandmaster realm was only the starting point of alchemy. Yu Haoran's encouragement was too high, and Xiang Wenxuan did not know how to reply. Brother Xiang, although Gu Zi has sworn on the heavenly way that all the martial sages in the Valley of the Medicine Masters will not attack you, with Gu Zi's shrewdness, he may be able to find a loophole in the oath. Any promise and encouragement needed time to verify. Faced with Xiang Wenxuan's lack of confidence, Yu Haoran did not say anything more. Instead, he stopped smiling and instructed him with a serious expression. Therefore, while Gao Xingjie is using the 5 Lives Mystery Gate elixir to cross the quasi-martial honorable realm heart tribulation, Gu Zi needs to protect you. Immediately leave the Valley of the Medicine Masters and then leave the Emperor Qin Kingdom. In that case, even if Gu Zi wants to deal with you, it will not be that easy. Actually, even without Yu Haoran's reminder, Xiang Wenxuan had already planned to leave. After all, he knew Gu Zi and the Great Elder's character better than Yu Haoran. Therefore, Xiang Wenxuan nodded in agreement and directly cupped his fists to bid farewell. Brother Yu, the Valley of the Medicine Masters is not a good place. Since the 5 Lives Mystery Gate Elixir and the Icy Heart Jade Bone Elixir have been successfully refined, you should consider leaving the Valley of the Medicine Masters as soon as possible. I will. Nodding, Yu Haoran watched Xiang Wenxuan leave the Earth Origin Pavilion before using his divine sense to remind Meng Yujie to leave the Earth Origin Pavilion as soon as possible. After Xiang Wenshuan and Meng Yuja left the Earth Origin Pavilion, Yu Haoran turned around, intending to enter his loft and enter seclusion for a short period of time to organize and comprehend his gain from the past few days. However, at this moment, a reminder from the spirit Vane's soul came from underground. Little friend, Gu Zi has gathered 3 experts at the peak of the 9th grade martial saint realm. They are here to capture you. After hearing the reminder of the spiritual Vane divine soul, Yu Haoran was stunned for a moment, and then his heart was burning with anger. When he was refining the 5 Lives Profound Gate Pill and the Ice Hard J-Bone Pill, he did not directly expel the alchemists who were planted by Gu Zi. This was already giving him a lot of face and could be considered to have expressed his goodwill. However, he did not expect Gu Zi to not know what was good for him and still refuse to give up on the idea of extracting his divine soul. This made him furious, and a crazy idea of revenge emerged in his heart. Spiritual Vane divine soul, send me to the 10,000 mu medicinal field. Yu Haoran suppressed his anger and ordered while gritting his teeth. All right, the spiritual Vane divine soul did not need to think too much about what he wanted to do in the 10,000 mu medicinal field. It also knew what Yu Haoran was thinking. Although the angry Yu Haoran might directly destroy the 10,000 mu medicinal field that had been cultivated for tens of thousands of years, if he did not agree, not only would he not refine the antidote for him, he might even trigger the poison of the life-devouring pill in advance. Therefore, the blue dragon formed by the spiritual Vane divine soul waved its dragon claw and instantly sent him to the 10,000 mu medicinal field. Revenge was revenge. Yu Haoran was not a crazy person, nor was he someone who did not care about anything in the heat of the moment. Fouling, immediately use your divine sense to mark the exact location of all the level 4 and above medicinal herbs in the medicinal field. Yu Haoran took a deep breath and tried his best to calm the anger in his heart as he ordered. All right, with the divine sense of a peak martial honorable, Fouling did not spend too much time and directly marked out thousands of level 4 and above medicinal herbs. Then, according to the exact location marked out by Fouling, he began to madly harvest the level 4 and above medicinal herbs. Of course, his first target was the level 3 medicinal herbs that were protected by the defensive array. Gu Zi, who had brought 3 peak 9th grade martial saints to sneak into the Earth Origin Pavilion with the intention of secretly capturing Yu Haoran, could not help but change his expression when he discovered that the Earth Origin Pavilion was already empty. This was because he was worried that Yu Haoran, who had finished refining the Ice Heart J-Bone elixir, had secretly left the Earth Origin Pavilion in the Medicine King Valley. However, considering that the lightning tribulation of the Ice Heart J-Bone elixir had not disappeared for long, with Yu Haoran's strength, he was afraid that he would not be able to leave the Medicine King Valley. He hurriedly contacted the spiritual Vane divine soul and asked it to track Yu Haoran, who had escaped from the Earth Origin Pavilion. Little friend, Gu Zi asked me to track your location. What do you think I should do? After receiving Gu Zi's request, the spiritual Vane divine soul immediately asked for Yu Haoran's opinion. Tell him directly. Without any hesitation, Yu Haoran decided to reveal his location. His goal was to negotiate with Gu Zi for the last time. More accurately, he wanted to use the trump card in his hand to continue asking for benefits from Gu Zi. All right. After receiving Yu Haoran's instructions, the spiritual Vane divine soul directly told Gu Zi that Yu Haoran was madly harvesting level 4 and above medicinal herbs in the medicinal field. Damn it! After hearing Yu Haoran's location and actions from the spiritual Vane divine soul, Gu Zi could not help but curse. Then, he used all his strength and directly led the 3 9th grade martial saints to the medicinal field. Yu Haoran, stop! Gu Zi hurriedly rushed to the sky above the medicinal field. When he saw Yu Haoran breaking the defensive formation and harvesting the level 3 5th grade fig that had been cultivated for close to 7,000 years, Gu Zi could not help but roar in anger. What's the matter? After keeping the fig, Yu Haoran patted the soil off his hands. He raised his head and looked at Gu Zi, who was floating in midair, and asked coldly, Yu Haoran, although I promised you that you can enter the medicinal field and harvest 10 stalks of medicinal herbs, you must do so under my supervision. What you're doing is going against the agreement. Faced with Yu Haoran's cold questioning, Guzi immediately reprimanded him. Guzi, you've already planned to deal with me. Why should I still abide by the original agreement? The most annoying thing was to be questioned by others. Yu Haoran, who was also in the air, directly exposed Guzi's sinister intentions. Yu Haoran, what do you mean? After hearing Yu Haoran's question, Guzi could not help but feel his heart tighten. He quickly pretended to be puzzled and asked, Guzi, had you been tracking down Zhao Qing's whereabouts? Looking at Guzi, who had already shed all pretense of cordiality, Yu Haoran could not help but chuckle. Then, he said a piece of news that made Guzi's expression suddenly change. Yu Haoran, I don't know what you were talking about. Forcibly suppressing the panic in his heart, Guzi still stubbornly pretended to be ignorant and asked, 12 level 4 first-grade spirit stones can be used to contact the giant of the demonic Tao. I don't know if Guzi has remembered anything. Chapter 700. Medicine King Valley. 12 4th-grade spirit stones, a communication artifact that could be used to contact the big shots of the Devil Tao. The information that Yu Haoran had just revealed caused Guzi to be unable to remain calm. He first turned his head and instructed his 3 subordinates who were at the peak of the 9th-grade martial saint realm. All of you, go back first. After the 3 subordinates left, Guzi took the initiative to land on the empty ground where the 3rd-grade 5th-grade fig had just been plucked by Yu Haoran. Then, he smiled apologetically and raised his head to invite him. Master Yu, can we talk in detail? Seeing the sudden change in Guzi's attitude, Yu Haoran couldn't help but laugh coldly. Then, he slowly landed in front of Guzi. Master Yu, where's Zhao Qing now? After Yu Haoran landed, Guzi hurriedly asked. Valley Head, don't worry. Elder Zhao is fine. I have only temporarily arranged for him to be hidden in a safe place. Yu Haoran seemed to have good intentions, but he was actually threatening him. Huh? Faced with Yu Haoran's threat, Guzi forced a smile and said, Master, you must be joking. You have never left the Medicine King Valley, and the entire Medicine King Valley is under my control. Where can you hide Zhao Qing? There is no need for Valley Master to worry about this. I have arranged for Elder Zhao to avoid being monitored by Valley Master. Ignoring Guzi's polite words, Yu Haoran's expression was indifferent as he mocked. Master Yu, Elder Zhao is very important to my Valley of the Medicine Masters. I sincerely hope that Master Yu can return Elder Zhao. Seeing that Yu Haoran's tone didn't seem to be lying, Guzi forced himself to calm down and find an excuse to ask for Zhao Qing. At the same time, it was also a test to see if Zhao Qing was still alive. Sigh. Faced with Guzi's request, Yu Haoran suddenly sighed and said helplessly, Valley Head, of course I know how important Elder Zhao is to the Medicine King Valley. I have also tried to persuade him to return to the Medicine King Valley. But I don't know what you did to him, Valley Lord, that he would rather choose to live in seclusion or join our 100 Chi Gate than return to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Grandmaster Yu, just tell me, what do you need my grains for you to return them to Zhao Qing? Seeing Yu Haoran's lies, Guzi knew that he would not hand over Zhao Qing so easily. No matter what, he had to get Zhao Qing back, even if it was just a corpse. This was because the secret that he had once forced Zhao Qing to use a demonic Tao artifact to contact a demonic Tao powerhouse was too important. The implications behind it were impossible to predict. If this were to be exposed, and the evidence was conclusive, he would immediately become the target of everyone's pursuit and could even implicate the entire Valley of the Medicine Masters. Valley Master, I've already said it. It's not that I, Yu Haoran, am unwilling to hand over Elder Zhao. It's that Elder Zhao is unwilling to return. What do you want me to do? Yu Haoran shrugged helplessly. Grandmaster Yu, let's not beat around the bush. Only the heavens, the earth, Yu, and I know how important the secret Zhao Qing holds is. Seeing that Yu Haoran was still trying to fool him and refused to hand over Zhao Qing, Guzi decided to be straightforward. So, What do you need me to do for you to hand over Zhao Qing? Valley Master, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Seeing that the provocation was about to reach its limit, Yu Haoran put away his casual attitude and said with a cold smile, "The secret Zhao Qing holds can be said to be my protective talisman in the short term. No matter what price you pay, I will never hand him over." Grandmaster Yu, do you really intend to make an enemy out of me, Gu Zi, and the entire Valley of the Medicine Masters? He would never hand over Zhao Qing. Yu Haoran's attitude caused Gu Zi's face to darken. He could not help but threaten him. "Valley Master, don't use that tone with me." In the face of Gu Zi's threat, Yu Haoran mocked him with disdain. "Because you have neither the right nor the confidence to threaten me now." Then, he said in a serious tone, "However, if I am satisfied with Valley Master's performance, I can guarantee that Zhao Qing will never leave this hidden place, nor will he reveal any secrets related to Valley Master." "Yu Haoran, I do not like to be blackmailed," Gu Zi rejected flatly. "If that is the case, then there is nothing more to say between us." Yu Haoran spread his hands and looked at a level 3, level 2 blood monkey flower not far away. His eyes flashed with joy. With the blood monkey flower as the main ingredient and 35 level 7 to level 5 supplementary spiritual herbs, he could refine a level 4, level 1 7 orifices exquisite pill. The 7 orifices exquisite pill could greatly increase the intelligence and potential of a venerable realm exotic beast. As for the target of the gift, he had already thought of who it would be. Seeing Yu Haoran look at the blood monkey flower, Gu Zi's eyes flashed with thought. Since he was unwilling to hand over Zhao Qing, then he would use his strength as a martial sage to capture him. Then, through the various torture methods of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, he would be able to force out Zhao Qing's whereabouts. There was also a chance that he would obtain the method to refine the 5 Lives Mystery Gate pill and the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. Thinking of this, Gu Zi blamed himself for panicking just now. As a result, Yu Haoran was pressuring him step by step until he could only lower his head. Seeing Yu Haoran walking towards the blood monkey flower, Gu Zi's contemplative look was replaced by a murderous glint. Then he mobilized all of his origin energy and soul power, then combined it with the power of the laws to unleash the most powerful secret technique he had ever mastered. Pill Path Reversal. Following Gu Zi's shout, countless pills of various grades suddenly appeared around Yu Haoran. By the time Yu Haoran sensed it and was about to counterattack, the countless pills had turned into strange beasts that roared and surrounded him. Seeing the countless strange beasts that the pills had turned into surround him, the corners of Yu Haoran's mouth curled up slightly, giving Gu Zi a feeling of contempt. Disperse. Facing the countless strange beasts that had surrounded him, Yu Haoran first stomped the ground, then waved his sleeves and shouted softly. There was no fluctuation of origin energy, soul power, or the power of the laws. The countless strange beasts that were roaring like thunder instantly disappeared without a trace at Yu Haoran's shout. This caused Gu Zi, who was full of anticipation, to involuntarily take a few steps back in fear. Gu Zi, since you were the first to shed all pretense of cordiality, then don't blame me for revealing the secret that Zhao Qing revealed to the 7 top sects and the guardian families. Looking at Gu Zi with an ashen face, Yu Haoran also shed all pretense of cordiality and threatened him. "Grandmaster Yu, please don't. I beg you, please don't reveal this secret." The 7 top sects knew that he still had hope of dealing with them. If the guardian families found out, not only would he die without a doubt, but the Valley of the Medicine Masters would also suffer an unbearable blow. Chapter 701. Valley of the Medicine Masters. You obviously wanted to use Yu Haoran's character just now. Why should I continue to help you hide the secret of colluding with the Demon Dao? Faced with Gu Zi's pleading, Yu Haoran threatened him with an unrelenting attitude. "Master Yu, just say it. Whatever you want, as long as it's what Gu Zi has, as long as it's what the Valley of the Medicine Masters has, you can take it and use it as you wish." Gu Zi knew that his risky attack just now had completely angered Yu Haoran. Moreover, with just a wave of his sleeve, he had dispersed his most powerful secret technique. Yu Haoran's methods and strength just now made him feel shocked and incomparably fearful. Therefore, he could only use his biggest trump card, which was to give up his and the Valley of the Medicine Master's worth in exchange for Yu Haoran's release. Really, Gu Zi's desperate declaration was completely beyond Yu Haoran's expectations. He suppressed the joy in his heart and said, "It's true." Nodding his head heavily, Gu Zi confirmed, "What if I want to pick all the spiritual herbs of the 4th level and above in the 10,000 mu of medicine fields?" Yu Haoran asked in disbelief. "Whatever." With a wave of his hand, Gu Zi gritted his teeth and agreed. "What if I take away the Emperor-level pill furnace of the Valley of the Medicine Masters?" Yu Haoran continued to ask. "Whatever." Gu Zi nodded his head painfully and gritted his teeth in agreement. "What if I directly empty the treasury of the Valley of the Medicine Masters and the Alchemy Mantra Pavilion?" Yu Haoran asked with a trembling heart. In the face of Yu Haoran's third question, Gu Zi directly closed his eyes and resisted the sadness in his heart and agreed. "Whatever." "You're crazy," Yu Haoran asked in shock. "Not to mention the inheritance of the Alchemy Master and the upper 3rd level spiritual vein that would be lost in the future. The Emperor-level pill furnace was the only means by which the Valley of the Medicine Masters could deal with the top experts of the 7 top sects and the 3 great empires. This was because only by using a top grade Emperor Realm pill furnace could he and the great Elder refine pills that were beneficial to martial honorables and martial honorables. After losing the supreme quality pill cauldron of the Emperor Realm, they also lost the influence of the elite warriors on the Tianxin land. As for the 10,000 mu of herb fields, the pill mantra pavilion, and the treasure trove, they were all used by the Medicine King Valley to attract talented pill refiners to join them, as well as to nurture the growth of pill refiners. Without these treasures, even with the legacy of the Alchemy Venerate and the superior level 3 Spirit Vein, the Valley of the Medicine Masters would lose its status as a holy land of alchemy. If you don't even have your life, then what's the point of keeping these worldly possessions? Gu Zi opened his eyes and sneered. "Gu Zi, you are the most selfish, despicable, and shameless villain that I, Yu Haoran, have ever seen in my life." Gu Zi's explanation shocked Yu Haoran, and at the same time, he was very disappointed in Gu Zi's human nature. After all, everything that you have now was not earned by you with your own hands. It was the foundation that hundreds of Valley Masters had built bit by bit. Now, he was using the tens of thousands of years of foundation that his ancestors had accumulated in exchange for his own safety. Yu Haoran felt that his evaluation of Gu Zi was too mild. But all of this had nothing to do with him. So Yu Haoran directly pointed his hand and demanded, "Give it to me." "What?" Gu Zi asked in confusion. "The Valley Master's token," Yu Haoran said coldly. "You haven't given me your promise." With a thought, a dark purple token with a tree carved on the front and a pill cauldron on the back appeared in Gu Zi's hand. Gu Zi asked with a cold smile as he held the purple token between 2 fingers and waved it in front of Yu Haoran. "I, Yu Haoran, swear by the rules of the Heavenly Tao that I will not hand Zhao Qing over to anyone, nor will I reveal any secrets related to Gu Zi. If I break my oath, my soul will fall into hell forever." Raising his left hand, Yu Haoran swore by the rules of the Heavenly Tao, then looked coldly at Gu Zi. In fact, even if he did not swear by the rules of the Heavenly Tao, he would never reveal the secret of Gu Zi's relationship with the diabolical way. Firstly, most of the 7 top sects and the hidden families had dealings with the diabolical way. If he was exposed, it would easily arouse the fear of those top forces, and in the end, they might secretly get rid of a reckless person like him. Secondly, he himself had mastered several types of diabolical way magic, especially the secret devouring technique, which was a powerful weapon to quickly raise his cultivation level. In the future, if people found out that the person who reported him was also practicing diabolical way magic, Gu Zi was afraid that he would be despised even more. Here, seeing Yu Haoran swear by the rules of the Heavenly Tao, Gu Zi directly threw the token between his fingers to Yu Haoran, then turned and left the medicine field. Master Yu, I am busy and will not personally send you out of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. After watching Gu Zi leave the medicine field, Yu Haoran looked at the purple token in his hand, and a trace of worry appeared on his face. But this worry did not bother him for too long. Finally, holding the purple token tightly, he appeared beside the blood monkey flower in a flash. Placing the purple token on the defensive array of the blood monkey flower, the array automatically disappeared, and Yu Haoran bent down to pick the third-level, second-grade blood monkey flower. In the following 5 hours, he picked a total of 36 third-level, first-grade to 7th-grade spirit herbs, as well as more than 500 4th-level, first-grade to 9th-grade spirit herbs. The total was about 1/3 of the 3rd-level and 4th-level spirit herbs in the medicine field. He did not pick all of them because Yu Haoran did not want to destroy the foundation of the Valley of the Medicine Masters so early, nor did he want to incur the hatred of the thousands of alchemists in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. After leaving the medicine field, he went straight to the Pill Scripture Pavilion in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. He telepathically summoned the first doppelganger and Victor, and the two of them began to look through all the collections in the Pill Scripture Pavilion. After a day and night of searching, Yu Haoran finally took away 26 alchemy grandmasters, 11 grandmasters' personal notes, 79 top-level pill recipes, and 3 secret alchemy manuals. After leaving the Pill Scripture Pavilion, he went to the treasury of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. The Valley of the Medicine Masters was famous for its alchemy skills, and its reputation did not lose out to the 7 top sections. Although the treasury of the Valley of the Medicine Masters also had 5 floors, the overall size and grandeur of the building were far superior to those of the Enforcer Peak and the 100 Feet Peak. After using the purple token to enter the treasury, he did not pay much attention to the spirit stones, pills, and spirit herbs on the first 3 floors. He went all the way to the 4th floor, where mantras and martial arts techniques were stored. He chose a set of palm techniques at the early stage of the Earth class, a set of foot techniques at the advanced stage of the Earth class, and a set of staff techniques at the advanced stage of the Earth class before leaving the 4th floor. Chapter 702 Valley of the Medicine Masters, Treasure House. Yu Haoran, haven't you been preparing the betrothal gifts for your engagement ceremony with Princess Ling Fei? Thaling, who was also shocked by the energy fluctuations emitted by the 38 different types of treasures placed on the 5th floor of the treasure house, couldn't help but laugh and tease Yu Haoran after scanning all the treasures in the treasure house. Here are 3 treasures that are very suitable as the finale betrothal gifts, treasures that could satisfy your fiancé. Thaling, don't keep me in suspense. Which 3 treasures are suitable as the betrothal gifts? Ignoring Thaling's teasing, Yu Haoran asked directly. The 5th treasure placed on the stone platform on the west side of the treasure house is suitable as the finale betrothal gift that is not inferior to the 5 Lives Mysterious Gate Pill, and will also please your fiancé. Thaling was a little unwilling to be ignored and continued to tease. Ignoring Thaling's teasing, and then following his reminder, Yu Haoran quickly looked at a hairpin placed on the stone platform on the west side of the treasure house. Walking quickly to the stone platform where the hairpin was placed, Yu Haoran looked down and carefully observed the hairpin, and found that the hairpin in front of him was a turquoise color, completely made of a piece of green jade. But from the energy fluctuations emitted from the jade hairpin, it should be a high-grade magic tool. Moreover, there was a natural lotus flower on the hairpin, giving people the feeling that the lotus seed was as clear as water, naturally carved and beautiful. Yu Haoran, this hairpin was made by a master at the peak of tools method, using deep-sea turquoise jade. The hairpin contains 36 types of offensive formations, 72 types of defensive formations, and its grade has reached the complete top grade of the Saint Realm. Seeing that Yu Haoran was going to use his spiritual sense to check the jade hairpin, Thaling hurriedly stopped him and explained. Moreover, among the 99 types of formations, there are 7 types of offensive formations that specialize in countering spiritual sense spying and 13 types of formations that prevent spiritual sense spying. After hearing Thaling's timely reminder and explanation, Howard couldn't help but secretly rejoice, and at the same time, quickly close his eyes and began to adjust his state of mind. Just now, he rashly used his spiritual sense to check the unknown jade hairpin because too many things had happened in the past few days, causing his mind to be in a trance and unconsciously lowering his own vigilance. Otherwise, with his cautious character in his previous life, he would never have made such a fatal low-level mistake. After readjusting his state of mind, Howard took out a wooden box specially used to store elixirs from his storage ring and placed the jade hairpin into the wooden box. After putting away the wooden box, Howard continued to ask, "Thaling, what is the second treasure? The third treasure on the east side of the treasure house is also a treasure that is not inferior to the jade hairpin and can please your fiancée." Thaling continued to tease with a smile. Howard couldn't help but roll his eyes in response. Then he planned to bypass the dozen stone platforms in the middle to see what the third treasure on the east side of the treasure house was. However, when he passed by a jade fan placed on a stone platform, he suddenly stopped. Howard, it's just a fan-shaped celestial device of the upper level of the king's domain. It's not worthy of your attention." Seeing Howard's attention on the jade fan placed on the stone platform, Thaling, who had already checked it with his spiritual sense, asked with disdain and confusion, "Thaling, are you sure this jade fan is only a celestial device of the upper level of the king's domain?" Howard reached out to pick up the jade fan and asked with a faint smile. "Of course." Howard's strange behavior puzzled Thaling. He couldn't help but check it again with his spiritual sense. When he found that the jade fan was the same as the one he had checked at the beginning, he answered with certainty. "Then take a look again." Howard asked with a smile as he waved his left hand and opened the jade fan directly. A cold aura immediately filled the entire 5th floor of the treasure house. A celestial device of the upper level of the Emperor domain? How is this possible? Thaling also felt the cold aura emitted by the jade fan. He couldn't help but check it with his spiritual sense for the 3rd time, but the result made him cry out in surprise. "Thaling, take a look again." As if to take revenge for Thaling's teasing just now, Howard closed the fan and opened it again. Then, he motioned for Thaling to continue checking with his spiritual sense. "I'm going to vomit blood. A celestial device of the Emperor domain? What's going on?" After hearing Howard's reminder, Thaling checked the fan with his spiritual sense for the 4th time. However, what made him even more depressed was that the 2nd time he opened the jade fan, it turned out to be a celestial device of the Emperor domain. Howard couldn't help but sigh as he closed the fan again. Celestial device of the Emperor domain, celestial device of the Emperor domain, and celestial device of the 1,000-bone fan. Howard, put the jade fan into the victor. I want to take a closer look. After hearing Howard's sigh, Thaling immediately thought of an incomparably cruel refining method and immediately ordered. Howard didn't refuse. He directly put the jade fan into the victor, then strode toward the 2nd treasure that Thaling had pointed out as a suitable betrothal gift. The frame was made of celestial dark iron, and the surface of the umbrella was made of the skin of a peak 9th level 4th level sage realm white jade serpent. Looking at the umbrella-shaped device on the stone platform, he didn't need to use his spiritual sense to know how precious it was. Moreover, the white jade serpent skin was pure white. The surface of the umbrella, made of its skin, looked like a fairy in the rain. It was indeed suitable for the lively and adorable Ling Fei. Howard waved his hand and took the umbrella-shaped device from the stone platform. Then, he interrupted Thaling's study of the 1,000-bone fan and asked him to point out the 3rd treasure that was suitable as a betrothal gift. The mask on the 4th platform in the northwest corner. Thaling's expression was gloomy. He casually pointed out the location of the 3rd treasure, then continued to immerse himself in studying the 1,000-bone fan. He strode to the 4th platform in the northwest corner and took a closer look at the mask on the platform. Then, his expression changed, and he involuntarily muttered to himself, "Phantom illusion. 300 years ago, It was the most important treasure of the Ji Huan sect. It has the ability to change and transform. It is said to be the phantom mask that no one can see through. Didn't they say that the phantom mask was destroyed when the Ji Huan sect was destroyed? After muttering to himself, Yu Haoran took a deep breath and suppressed his shock. He reached out to pick up the phantom mask and put on his face. Thaling, who am I? Yu Haoran mentally asked Thaling, whose expression was so gloomy that it looked like water could drip out of it. Nonsense. Of course you are Yu Haoran, Thaling said impatiently without even raising his head. Thaling, I want you to use your divine sense and your own senses to see if you can find any flaws in the mask. Thaling's impatient response made Yu Haoran feel a little regretful. He regretted that he had chosen the 1,000-bone fan just now. He regretted that he had messed up the artifact's spirit's mind. Therefore, he could only ask patiently. Yu Haoran, since you have already recognized the origin of this mask, you must also know the unique effects of this mask. After hearing Yu Haoran's request, Thaling finally raised his head and looked at Yu Haoran, who had put on the phantom mask and become a completely different person. He casually explained, Therefore, you don't need to doubt the effects of this mask. It does indeed have the ability to change forms that even peak martial honorables cannot distinguish. All right, Thaling, you don't need to continue studying the 1,000-bone fan. Chapter 703. In the treasury of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. 500 years ago, a prodigy appeared in the weapon refining sect, one of the top 7 sections. This prodigy's talent in the art of weapon refining could be said to be a rare prodigy in the weapon refining sect. He was highly regarded by the master of the weapon refining sect and the elders. However, this prodigy's personality was not only strange, but he also liked to study unorthodox methods of weapon refining. The 1,000-bone fan was a special magic tool that this person had refined with the body of a peak 9th grade martial royal realm expert, when his cultivation was only at the martial king realm and his tool's method cultivation had just broken through to the tool's method grandmaster. It was a special magic tool that could confuse the opponent through grade changes. Purely in terms of refining techniques, even a tool's method great grandmaster would not be able to refine such an unfathomable artifact. However, using a cultivator's body to refine a weapon was already a taboo in the Tianxin continent. Furthermore, the peak 9th grade martial emperor was still alive when he was refining the weapon. This was not only a taboo in the Tianxin continent, but also caused the fear and anger of countless cultivators. Even if that genius was highly regarded by the upper echelons of the crafting school, in the face of the questioning of the 6 top sects and the questioning of countless martial practitioners, the upper echelons of the crafting school could only hand that genius over in order to protect themselves, allowing the 6 top sects to punish him. In the end, the prodigy died a horrible death. It was said that the pain he suffered was no less than that of the peak 9th grade martial emperor that he had killed with his weapon refining techniques. After hearing Yu Haoran's detailed explanation, Thaling's originally gloomy expression gradually returned to normal. He could not help but sigh. The heavens are jealous of prodigies. It's a pity that a prodigy who could break through to the peak of the weapon refining grandmaster level was lost. Thaling, the Mask of Illusion is very suitable for me. It is also a life-saving technique that I will use in the future. Seeing that Thaling's attention had finally shifted from the 1,000-bone fan, Yu Haoran quickly asked, So, help me choose a treasure that is suitable as a betrothal gift. In the 3rd pill bottle on the east side of the Mask of Illusion, there's an yin yang longevity pill that can increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. It can also be used as a betrothal gift. After thinking for a while, Thaling took out a treasure from the 5th floor of the treasury that could also be used as a betrothal gift. His gaze landed on the pill bottle placed on the stone platform on the east side. He used his elemental energy to absorb the pill bottle into his palm before pouring the contents out of the pill bottle. The quality is not bad. It can increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. Yu Haoran inspected the pill in his hand, which was emitting a unique fragrance. After praising it with satisfaction, he put it into his storage ring. He then retreated to the entrance of the 5th floor and carefully observed the remaining 34 treasures. In the end, he chose 4 high-grade Emperor Realm swords, 3 low-grade Emperor Realm defensive artifacts, and a jade slip containing either a mental cultivation method or a martial technique inheritance. Looking at the remaining 20-plus treasures in the treasury, Howard finally suppressed the greed in his heart. He turned around and left the 5th floor of the treasury, directly leaving the treasury. Based on his memories of living in the Valley of the Medicine Masters in his previous life, Howard went straight to the last thing he wanted to do in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. That was to see the first treasure of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, the low-grade Emperor Realm Pill Cauldron. Possessing the purple token that symbolized the Valley Master was equivalent to controlling the protective formation of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Therefore, without being affected by the protective formation, he flew directly to a mountain about 30 miles away from the Earth Source Pavilion. It wasn't very tall, but it emitted a high temperature. Floating in the air, he looked at the low-grade Emperor Realm Pill Cauldron towering at the top of the mountain. Although it wasn't the first time he had seen a low-grade Emperor Realm Pill Cauldron, every time he saw it with his own eyes, he would be shocked by the ancient, grand, and profound aura that the cauldron unconsciously emitted. "Brother Hal, what are you doing?" Seeing the low-grade Emperor Realm Pill Cauldron with his own eyes was only to relive the shock that the cauldron had given him in his previous life. He had no intention of spying on the cauldron. Therefore, after experiencing the shock that the cauldron had given him, Howard turned to leave the mountain and secretly meet someone. But at this moment, without his consent, the first clone left Victor and appeared in the air. "Brother this cauldron is called Raging Fire Rebirth. It is also Master's natal weapon." The first clone reached out to Howard, who was about to ask questions, and pointed to the cauldron towering at the top of the mountain. "What?" After hearing the first clone's introduction, Howard couldn't help but ask in surprise. But thinking about it carefully, the alchemy master was still a master who had successfully broken through to become a Pill Emperor. Then, as his natal weapon, it was normal for it to be a low-grade Emperor Realm Pill Cauldron. "Brother I would like to discuss something with you." The first clone had wanted to introduce the cauldron in detail, but after sensing Howard's shock and calmness, the first clone knew that he had guessed the relationship between the cauldron and the alchemy master. Therefore, he didn't waste any more time explaining. Instead, he made a request with a complicated expression. "Brother Hal, please speak." Howard, who had barely managed to calm himself down, didn't notice the first clone's abnormality and asked directly, "Brother I'm afraid we'll have to part for a while." The first clone looked at Howard, a trace of reluctance in his eyes. Then he looked at the cauldron at the top of the mountain and explained, "Because I plan to enter the cauldron for a while to cultivate." Howard's expression changed when he heard that the first clone was going to enter the cauldron to cultivate. Then he shouted angrily, "Brother Hal, do you know what grade this cauldron is? It's a lower Emperor Realm weapon." The first clone said calmly, "Since you know that it's a lower Emperor Realm weapon, why do you still dare to enter the cauldron to cultivate? Aren't you digging your own grave?" Howard couldn't control his anger and scolded, "Brother don't be angry. Let me explain." In the face of Howard's scolding, the first clone tried to persuade him gently. "There are 3 reasons why I plan to enter the cauldron to cultivate. Firstly, when I received my master's legacy, he left behind a special aura. With this special aura, I was able to awaken the artifact spirit of the Emperor Artifact Cauldron, allowing me to safely enter it." "Are you sure?" Howard was angry, not because of the first clone's decision, but because he didn't know the severity of the situation. After all, a complete Emperor Realm weapon was different from an ordinary weapon. The Emperor Realm weapon contained Emperor Realm power that even martial honorables couldn't get close to, let alone his first clone who was weaker than him. Chapter 704. There's more tonight, in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. In fact, Howard knew that the 3 of them would be separated sooner or later when he had used the I Chi turning 3 pure ones technique to create 2 clones with independent consciousnesses. Of course, The temporary separation today was for the sake of being stronger when they reunited in the future. He was already mentally prepared for this and could accept it calmly. I'm sure. The first clone nodded in confirmation in response to Yuhauren's questioning. Then, he continued to explain the second reason for entering the cauldron. Secondly, Master was seriously injured when he was ambushed and had no choice but to decompose himself. He left behind his pilled Dao insights after breaking through to the Emperor realm in the cauldron. So I have to enter the cauldron to receive the complete inheritance. Nodding, Yuhauren looked into the eyes of the first clone and continued to listen to his third reason. Lastly, I want to use the opportunity to be alone with the cauldron's weapon spirit to gain its approval and then refine the Emperor Realm inferior grade cauldron into my own life pill weapon. In fact, there was another way for the first clone to refine the Emperor Realm inferior grade cauldron, and that was to directly devour the weapon spirit of the Emperor Realm inferior grade cauldron. However, this method was more risky and could be said to have a 90% chance of dying. He didn't want his original body to worry about him, so he didn't reveal it. I understand. After hearing the 3 explanations from the first clone, especially the last one about his ambition to refine the Emperor Realm inferior grade cauldron into his life pill weapon, Yuhauren nodded. Then, he reached out and patted the first clone's shoulder, smiled, and reminded him. Be careful. I will. The first clone nodded solemnly and flew towards the Emperor Realm inferior grade cauldron at the peak. When the Emperor Realm inferior grade cauldron sensed the invasion of the first clone, it instinctively emitted the Emperor aura unique to Emperor Realm weapons. However, when it sensed a strange aura from the first clone, the Emperor aura's aura instantly softened and wrapped around the first clone and brought him into the cauldron. After confirming that his first clone was safe, Yuhauren turned around and left the mountain peak. Then he asked the spirit vein to send him back to the Earth Origin Pavilion. Standing in the courtyard of the Earth Origin Pavilion, Yuhauren raised his head to look at the sky and asked, spiritual veins, divine soul, and the spiritual herbs needed to refine the detoxification pill have been gathered. I've already collected more than 500 types. Medicine King Valley doesn't have the remaining dozens of elixirs in stock. I've already arranged for the elders in the valley to collect them. The spirit vein spirit quickly replied. Let me see. Yuhauren gestured towards the ground. Then, an ancient storage ring appeared in his hand. After his mind entered the space of the storage ring, the first thing that attracted his attention was not the piles of elixirs placed in the space, but the huge space of more than 100,000 square meters, which made him greedy to possess it. Yuhauren said with a frown after his mind left the storage space. Spiritual veins, divine soul, among the dozens of elixirs that we lack, a few of them are the most important supplementary herbs for refining the detoxification pill. Moreover, I have something very important to do next. I have to leave the Medicine King Valley immediately. What do you think I should do? Young friend, you must not leave the Medicine King Valley. Hearing that Yuhauren was planning to leave the Medicine King Valley, the spirit vein spirit immediately became anxious. The life-devouring pill's poison was like a sharp sword hanging over its head. It could slash down at any time, and its life could vanish at any time. Therefore, it tried to persuade Yuhauren not to leave in a hurry, while it tried to think of a solution. Forget it. I just happen to lack dozens of elixirs. I'll make up for it for you for the time being. Seeing the silent spirit vein spirit, Yuhauren immediately knew that it must be thinking of a solution. He considered that if it came up with a solution, then he would be too embarrassed to keep the storage ring in his hand. Therefore, he pretended to be very generous and said, Really, thank you so much. Even the tens of thousands of acres of herb fields that the Medicine King Valley had painstakingly cultivated for tens of thousands of years did not have them. This meant that the dozens of elixirs that were missing were very precious and rare. It was simply unrealistic to want to find these dozens of elixirs in a short period of time. The spirit vein spirit had almost exhausted all the methods it could think of, but still could not solve this problem. Suddenly hearing that Yuhauren wanted to help, how could it not be grateful? Therefore, When it saw Yuhaoran put away its most beloved storage ring, it did not say much. Spirit Vein Spirit, you also know the life-devouring pill's position in the Tianxin continent's 100 poison ranking. As the detoxification pill that can neutralize the life-devouring pill's poison, I don't need to say more about its importance. Seeing that the Spirit Vein Spirit did not chase after the storage ring that he had put away, Yuhaoran secretly sighed in relief, and then reminded it with a serious expression. Therefore, I hope that in the following process of refining the detoxification pill, you can withdraw all of your divine sense and then quietly stay at the source of the spirit vein. You cannot spy on the refining method of the detoxification pill. Refining the detoxification pill required a total of 9 elixirs. In addition to the 8 elixirs needed to control the spirit vein spirit, there were only 17 elixirs in total. If the spirit vein spirit found out that the number of detoxification pills and the number of elixirs needed was so different, it would definitely feel uncomfortable. In the future, it would definitely affect his plan to subdue it and move it to Qinyan Peak. Okay, Yuhaoran's request was not excessive, and the spirit vein spirit nodded in agreement. Then, the divine sense that had spread throughout the entire Medicine King Valley was withdrawn, and the spirit vein spirit returned to the source of the spirit vein. Thowling, although I believe that the spirit vein spirit will not secretly spy on us, just to be sure, I still need to trouble you to use the divine sense of a peak martial honor to help me monitor the situation around us. Although the spirit vein spirit agreed very quickly, Yuhaoran was cautious and still reminded Thowling before he started refining the detoxification pill. Yuhaoran, don't worry about refining the pill. I will take care of everything, Thowling promised. After 3 consecutive upgrades, not only had the pill furnace's grade been restored to the King Realm's highest grade, but the power of the pill fire had also increased by more than 10 times. Therefore, the detoxification pill that would have taken more than an hour to refine took less than 20 minutes to successfully refine, and there were 9 perfect pills. After carefully observing the quality of the pills and further checking through the Spirit Pagoda, he finally confirmed that the detoxification pill that had just been refined could not only detoxify the poison of the life-devouring pill, but also perfectly control the spirit vein spirit of the upper grade 3 spirit vein spirit. Because the time taken to refine the detoxification pill was too short, and he was afraid that the spirit vein spirit would become suspicious, Yuhaoran did not rush to summon it out, and instead sorted out his gains in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Chapter 705, Valley of the Medicine Masters, Earth Source Pavilion. Spirit Vein, Godly Spirit. The antidote pill has been successfully refined. You can come out now. Hearing Yuhaoran's call, the Spirit Vein, Godly Spirit hurriedly left the source of the Spirit Vein and appeared in front of Yuhaoran. Here, Yuhaoran directly threw the antidote pill that he had prepared in advance to the blue dragon and waited for its next move. He wanted to see if it completely trusted him and took the antidote pill directly, or if it doubted him and checked to make sure there was no problem before taking it. Because of the different choices made by the Spirit Vein Godly Spirit, it would have a different attitude towards him after the life-devouring pill was removed. Facing the antidote pill that Yuhaoran threw, the blue dragon directly opened its mouth and swallowed the antidote pill. Yuhaoran was very satisfied with the Spirit Vein Godly Spirit's unreserved trust. He took out a pill bottle with 2 antidote pills and threw it to the Spirit Vein Godly Spirit as he instructed. As a poison pill on the 100 poisons ranking, the poison in the life-devouring pill cannot be completely removed with just 1 antidote pill. Take 1 antidote pill every 3 days and you will recover after 9 days. Thank you, my friend. Receiving the pill bottle that Yuhaoran threw, the Spirit Vein Godly Spirit hurriedly thanked him. Waving his hand, Yuhaoran indicated that the Spirit Vein Godly Spirit did not need to be so polite. Then, he closed his eyes and began to feel the divine consciousness imprint that he had left on Meng Yujia and finally determined her specific location. Using his divine consciousness, He told the spirit vain, godly spirit where Meng Yujia was and instructed it to send him directly to the courtyard where Meng Yujia was. The cold fragrance pavilion was considered an outstanding pavilion among the hundreds of courtyards and pavilions in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Now, before the formal apprenticeship ceremony, the great elder had arranged for Meng Yujia to stay in the cold fragrance pavilion. It was enough to see how much the great elder valued her. Bam Bam! Men and women were different, and it was rude to barge into a girl's pavilion, so Yu Haoran reached out and knocked on the courtyard door, using a more gentlemanly way to meet Meng Yujia. Of course, he had already asked Thaling to use his divine consciousness to check the surroundings before deciding to use this method to meet Meng Yujia. After all, he could not harm the innocent Meng Yujia. Please come in. Hearing the knock, Meng Yujia's slightly nervous voice came from the courtyard. Sister Meng Yujia. Yu Haoran saw Meng Yujia standing nervously in the middle of the courtyard and hurriedly called out to her when he saw her. Meng Yujia replied after slightly bowing. Meng Yujia, Meng Yujia Meng Yujia. Meng Yujia Pavilion. Meng Pavilion. Junior Sister Meng, have a seat. Yu Haoran greeted her with a smile, as if he was the owner of the cold fragrance pavilion. Yu Xixiang, why are you in the Valley of the Medicine Masters? Perhaps it was because of Yu Haoran's attitude of not treating himself as an outsider that Meng Yujia, who was originally very nervous, unconsciously relaxed. Meng Yujia asked puzzledly after sitting down opposite Yu Haoran. Originally, with my alchemy skills, I did not have much confidence in refining the 5 Lives Profound Gate Pill and the Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill, so I planned to seek the assistance of the alchemists in the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Of course, you saw the end result. While explaining why he was in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, he also explained the conflict between himself and the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Yu Xixiao, I did not expect the Great Elder to be such a person. I now regret taking him as my master. Can you take me away from the Valley of the Medicine Masters? Hearing Yu Haoran mention the conflict between him and the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Meng Yujia suddenly thought of the Great Elder's unreasonable state of madness. While her heart was filled with regret, she immediately asked Yu Haoran for help. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran flatly refused. Meng Yujia, I will not and cannot take you away from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Why? Meng Yujia asked puzzledly. Dream Master. The reason why the Great Elder suddenly fell into madness was entirely because he was too focused on the advancement of his cultivation and neglected the training of his mental state. As a result, when he saw the 5 Lives Profound Gate Pill, his mind immediately went into a state of uncontrollable state. At this point, Yu Haoran sighed softly and said with a tone full of emotion and envy. Actually, other than the fact that the Great Elder is more overbearing, he is a good person. Moreover, his alchemy skills are profound and he knows how to teach disciples. It is your heaven-defying luck to be able to take him as your master. This is why I will not take you away. But, in the face of Yu Haoran's explanation just now, Meng Yujia was still a little unwilling to refute, but he reached out and stopped her. After that, Yu Haoran got up and walked to the side of the Wind Pavilion. Looking in the direction of the 100 Qi Gate, he asked in a gentle tone, Meng Yujia, do you still remember where we first met? Of course I remember. Meng Yujia also got up and walked to Yu Haoran's side. Her ears were slightly red as she recalled. That was when the trial of the Blue Moon's secret realm was about to end. We got to know each other because of Meng Shidi and became familiar because we faced the unicorn together. Meng Yujia suddenly felt a little disappointed, and her tone was a little helpless as she continued. Unfortunately, Yu Shixiang killed an elder of my Heart Moon sect in the valley at the entrance of the Blue Moon secret realm. This caused the relationship between our sects to be very tense. Even if I wanted to visit Yu Shixiang, the sect would not agree. Yu Haoran did not give any response or explanation to Meng Yujia's lamentation. Instead, he suddenly turned around and looked straight into her eyes. Meng Yujia, I have a secret technique that can see a person's hidden special constitution. I'm sorry, Meng Yujia. Actually, when I first saw you in the Blue Moon secret realm, I used this secret technique to check your constitution. I found that you actually have the spirit of medicine constitution, which is ranked 25th among the thousands of special constitutions in the Xiantian continent. The spirit of medicine constitution is a special constitution that is most suitable to become an alchemist. In the future, you have a great chance of breaking through to the Pill Emperor realm. At this point, Yu Haoran subconsciously helped Meng Yujia brush away a few strands of hair on her forehead and said sincerely, "This is the reason why I can't bring you out of the Medicine King Valley. Because only in the sacred land of alchemy, the Medicine King Valley, can you receive the most formal and systematic learning of alchemy. Only then can you better stimulate your spirit of medicine constitution and give you the hope of breaking through to the Pill Emperor realm in the future. Meng Yujia, if I bring you out of the Medicine King Valley, I will not be helping you. Instead, I will be harming you. Yu Xiang, I understand. I will take the Great Elder as my master and seriously learn alchemy from him." Chapter 706, Valley of the Medicine Masters, Cold Fragrance Pavilion. Seeing that Meng Yujia finally realized the importance of staying in the Valley of the Medicine Masters and becoming the disciple of the head elder, Yu Haoran secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As explained just now, his alchemy cultivation was transformed from the cultivation of the Tao of poison and then integrated with the insights of many different types of alchemists. It could be considered a pot of mishmash and was not suitable to guide the cultivation of Meng Yujia, who had the spirit of medicine body. If it was just to win Meng Yujia over to join Qingyun Peak, taking her away from the Valley of the Medicine Masters would not only not be helping her, but would also be harming her. What's more, Yu Haoran also had no way to change Meng Yujia's ugly appearance so that she would have a peerless beauty in the future. Taking Meng Yujia's hand, he sat back down on the stone chair in the pavilion, and then took out a secret alchemy manual, 3 sets of insights from the alchemy Grandmaster realm, and a jade slip of his own insights into alchemy, and placed them in front of her. Yu Haoran explained in detail. "Junior Sister Meng, the secret alchemy manual and the alchemy Grandmaster's insights were specially selected for you from the Pill Pavilion of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. It can help you build a solid foundation when you first come into contact with alchemy. And this jade slip summarizes some of my own insights into alchemy and should be able to help you master excellent alchemy techniques faster. Yu Xiang, these treasures are too precious. Shaking her head, Meng Yujia instinctively wanted to refuse, but Yu Haoran reached out to stop her. "Junior Sister Meng, although we were not from the same sect before, but as a subsidiary sect of the 100 Qi Gate, there must be legends of me, Yu Haoran, in the Heart Moon Gate." Yu Haoran said domineeringly as he reached out to take the manual, the notes, and the jade slip and forced them into her hands. "As long as it is something that I, Yu Haoran, give out, you have to accept it whether you want to accept it or not. Otherwise, you intend to be my enemy." Speaking of this, the domineering tone suddenly turned murderous. "Although I, Yu Haoran, treat my friends with the warmth of spring, I treat my enemies with the cruelty of winter. So, whether you are an enemy or a friend is up to you." "All right." Facing Yu Haoran's seemingly unreasonable and overbearing attitude, Meng Yujia felt a sweetness in her heart. She obediently nodded and accepted the secret manual, letter, and jade slip. "That's right." Seeing Meng Yujia obediently accept the jade slip, Yu Haoran said with a chuckle. Then, he stood up and said goodbye. "Junior Meng, I still have some very important matters to attend to, so I can't stay in a Medicine King's Valley for too long. If fate wills it, let's meet again. Are we leaving now?" Meng Yujia, who had also stood up, said with a reluctant expression, "I have to go." Nodding, Yu Haoran turned around and left the pavilion. However, just as he was about to step out of the pavilion, he suddenly stopped and looked at Meng Yujia. "Junior Meng, before leaving the Medicine King's Valley, I still have 2 things to tell you." "Yu Xiang, tell me." Meng Yujia quickly put away her reluctant expression and listened carefully. First, do not ever mention to anyone in the valley that you and I know each other. Otherwise, you will definitely be ostracized by many alchemists. Second, the secret manual, letter, and jade slip that I just gave you cannot be known by the head elder. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Yu Xiao, I understand. Meng Yujin nodded heavily and said, "Goodbye, Junior Meng." Waving his hand, Yu Haoran stepped out of the cold fragrance pavilion. After leaving the cold fragrance pavilion, Yu Haoran ordered the spirit vein soul. Spirit vein soul, send me out of the Medicine King's Valley. Young friend, in fact, as long as I, the Blue Dragon, am here, the Valley Master and the Head Elder will never and dare not hurt you. Perhaps because of Yu Haoran's casual style of doing things, the Spirit Vein's soul admired and envied him very much. It also did not want Yu Haoran to leave so soon. Looking up in the direction of the Emperor Qin Kingdom, Yu Haoran said gently, "I am not afraid of Gu Zi and Gao Shangjie leaving the Medicine King's Valley, but because there is a very important person waiting for me." "All right." Nodding, the Spirit Vein Soul did not try to persuade him to stay and personally led Yu Haoran out of the Medicine King's Valley to a small forest about 100 miles away from the Medicine King's Valley. "Young friend, this is still the edge of the Spirit Vein Soul's extension. I can only send you here." The blue dragon condensed by the Spirit Vein Soul appeared and solemnly bid him farewell. "Thank you." Cupping his fists in gratitude, he waved his hand and motioned for the Spirit Vein Soul to return to the Medicine King's Valley. "You can go back." Then he turned his head and instructed the black bear that was being sent out of the Medicine King's Valley at the same time. "Black bear, transform. We are going to the Emperor Qin Kingdom." After the black bear took off, Yu Haoran stood on the back of the black bear and looked at the Medicine King's Valley that was getting smaller and smaller. He could not help but sigh. Originally, he thought that this trip to the Medicine King's Valley would be a harmonious gathering of guests, but he did not expect this outcome. Fortunately, the harvest this time was beyond his expectations, and it eased his gloomy mood greatly. The Emperor Qin Kingdom, Xianyang City. After the Lunar Lantern Festival, the festive atmosphere of the new year should have gradually disappeared, and the entire imperial capital would return to its previous peaceful life. But with a piece of breaking news from the palace, the entire imperial capital was suddenly jubilant, and the atmosphere was even livelier than during the new year. This was because Princess Ling Fei, who is known as the Pearl of the Empire, was about to hold a grand engagement ceremony with the deputy leader of the 100 Qi Gate, Yu Haoran, who was at the pinnacle of the Pil Dao. After receiving this news, whether it was in the imperial capital, Xianyang City, or in the various cities of the Emperor Qin Kingdom, it was as if they had heard bad news. They could not believe that the girl of their dreams, the person they had worked so hard for, had become someone else's fiancé. Who was Yu Haoran? Relying on the abilities of the nobles, they were able to find out everything very quickly. If it was a talent whose status and identity were similar to Princess Ling Fei's, although they were unwilling, they could still reluctantly accept it. But a mere deputy leader of a small second-rate sect, a small ant in the martial grandmaster realm, actually wanted to marry their dream girl, Princess Ling Fei. They could not accept it, were not willing, and were not willing. Therefore, nearly 1,000 nobles banded together and formed a protection team to protect their beloved. Their goal was to prevent the engagement ceremony between Yu Haoran and Princess Ling Fei on the 2nd of February. What was even more outrageous was that the nobles of Xianyang City, the nobles of the Imperial Capital's City Guard Army, and the nobles of the various commanders of the Imperial Guard used their family's influence to set up an inescapable net at the 4 gates of Xianyang City, intending to prevent Yu Haoran from entering Xianyang City. Chapter 707. Xianyang City, Northern City Gate. Brat, you're delusional to think that you can marry the Honorable Princess Ling Fei with your bare face. I think you're just a toad lusting after the flesh of a swan. A handsome young man with a feminine temperament mocked with disdain. His master looked like a bear. After hearing the evaluation of the feminine young man, He Xiong, who was standing beside Yu Haoran, couldn't help but glance at Yu Haoran in confusion. When he discovered that Yu Haoran didn't look like him at all, he couldn't help but scratch his head with a puzzled expression. Scram! He Xiong's action of comparing their appearances caused Yu Haoran to feel deeply depressed, and he couldn't help but berate him. Who are you? Soon after, he took a step forward and questioned with a gloomy expression. The son of the Marquis of Flat Arrow, Qiao Yimu. The feminine young man arrogantly introduced himself. Qiao Yimu, why are you stopping me from entering Xianyang City? The Marquis of Flat Arrow was an old aristocratic family of the Emperor Qin's kingdom. He had once followed the third Emperor Qin, the Emperor Qin's kingdom's third emperor, on expeditions all over the world and had made illustrious military achievements. However, circumstances had changed with the passage of time. The once glorious Flat Arrow Marquis residence was now only an ordinary aristocratic family of Xianyang City. Therefore, Yu Haoran didn't need to give him any face and directly called him by his name. Impudent! How can a lowly commoner like you call the young Marquis by his name? After hearing Yu Haoran directly call out Qiao Yimu's name, a guard at the peak of 9th grade Martial King, standing behind Qiao Yimu, immediately berated him. It was you who called me a lowly commoner, wasn't it? Although he still had a smile on his face, his interrogative tone caused countless people to feel a trace of coldness. He Xiong, who also felt the coldness in Yu Haoran's tone, immediately raised his paw in excitement and prepared to attack. That's right. The guard, who didn't sense the strange atmosphere, arrogantly replied. Did I say something wrong? Yu Haoran didn't know what right the Marquis of Flat Arrow, who was in a worse state than the 100 Qi Gate, had to be so arrogant. Yu Haoran couldn't be bothered to continue arguing with him, so he instructed He Xiong. Smash him into a meat patty. Yu Haoran's voice had just left his mouth when a bare paw directly smashed the guard who had shouted at him into a meat patty. You actually dared to kill people on street? Qiao Mu asked with a pale face. Fanning his nose with his left hand, Yu Haoran cast a disdainful glance at Qiao Yimu before turning around, intending to enter Xianyang City. Whether it was in his previous life or this life, no matter how cowardly his opponents were, there had never been a person like Qiao Yimu who was so scared that he wet his pants. Presumably, the incompetence of the younger generation was the true reason for the decline of the Flat Arrow Marquis residence. Friend, you think you can leave safely after killing people at the gates of the capital of the state of Qin? Don't you think you have no regard for the laws of the state of Emperor Qin? Just as Yu Haoran was about to step past Qiao Yimu and enter Xianyang City, a youth leaning against the city wall threatened him with a smile. Compared to the frivolous Qiao Yimu, the refined youth not only appeared steadier, but his methods were also more sinister and ruthless. He had directly determined that Qiao Yimu's rage and killing people was a violation of the laws of the state of Qin. Who are you? Yu Haoran asked impatiently with a frown. The son of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights, Qin Fengxiu, the youth said with a hint of arrogance. Qiao Yimu had already worn away the joy in his heart, so when faced with Qin Fengxiu's sinister provocation, a trace of killing intent arose in his heart. Since you are the son of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rights, you must know about the conflict I had with the Ministry of Rights some time ago. According to Yu Haoran's lawless character, aren't you afraid that I will kill you on the spot? Although killing intent surged in his heart, considering Qin Fengxiu's extraordinary background and the fact that he had the same surname as Qin Lingfei, he was worried that if he killed Ling Fei's cousin by mistake, it would affect the engagement ceremony in a few days. Therefore, he could only do his best to suppress the killing intent in his heart as he threatened. Looking at Yu Haoran with contempt, Qin Fengxiu straightened his body and took the initiative to provoke him. Do you dare? Yu Haoran, the old man 10 meters away from that kid, is a peak 7th grade martial saint expert who has comprehended the law of speed. Moreover, he has already secretly mobilized the law of speed and is waiting for you to order Black Bear to attack. Then, he will take the opportunity to kill Black Bear. Facing Qin Fengxiu's provocation, according to Yu Haoran's character, how could he let him do as he pleased? Therefore, Yu Haoran subconsciously planned to order Black Bear to kill Qin Fengxiu. However, at this moment, the Thaling in his sea of consciousness suddenly reminded him. Following the Thaling's reminder, Yuhaoran's gaze fell on a slightly hunchbacked old man with messy hair 10 meters away from Qin Fengxiu. He was wearing a gray shirt made of coarse cloth. If it weren't for the Thaling's reminder, no one would have thought that this old man, who looked like a farmer, was actually a peak 7th grade martial saint expert who had grasped the law of speed. Qin Fengxiu had made full use of his lawless and impulsive character to provoke him to attack and used this opportunity to get rid of Black Bear. Qin Fengxiu's scheming and methods made Yuhaoran vigilant. At the same time, he also instantly thought of a way to deal with him. Taking a deep breath, he suppressed the surging killing intent in his heart. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Then, Yuhaoran took out a jade pendant from his storage ring. The back of the jade pendant was engraved with the words, "I am here," and a 5-clawed golden dragon engraved on the front. Then, he raised the jade pendant and looked at Qin Fengxiu, the old man in plain clothes who was ready to kill the Black Bear at any time. The jade pendant that His Majesty carries with him. After seeing the jade pendant raised in Yuhaoran's hand, Qin Fengxiu turned pale with fright. Then, with a face full of unwillingness, he took the initiative to kneel down and shouted loudly, "Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor!" Seeing that even the son of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rites, Qin Fengxiu, had taken the initiative to kneel down and greet him, whether it was the soldiers in the city, the hedonistic young masters in embroidered clothes, or the surrounding people, they all bent their knees and shouted loudly, "Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor! Long live the Emperor!" Only the old man in coarse clothes stood in place without moving an inch. "How dare you not kneel after seeing the jade pendant that His Majesty personally bestowed upon you by His Majesty?" While using his spiritual sense to inform Black Bear to be on guard, Yuhaoran raised the jade pendant in his hand and shouted loudly. Coldly looking at Yuhaoran, a trace of contempt flashed in the eyes of the old man in coarse clothes, but he still did not move. In response, Yuhaoran sneered in his heart. Then, with a gloomy expression, he asked Qin Fengxiu, "Young Master Qin, as the son of the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rites, you must be familiar with the laws of the Emperor Qin Kingdom." Chapter 708. Xianyang City, in front of the North City Gate. Facing Yuhaoran's question, Qin Fengxiu was speechless and did not know how to answer. Who was on duty in the city guard army? Knowing that Qin Fengxiu would not answer his question, Yuhaoran immediately looked at a middle-aged man in soft armor kneeling beside the city gate. Zhang Yihai greets the prince consort. Seeing Yuhaoran looking at him, the middle-aged man in soft armor had to take the initiative to stand up and greet him. "Lord Zhang, I ask you, what is the punishment for not greeting the emperor?" Yuhaoran asked again, shaking the jade pendant in his hand at Zhang Yihai. "According to the law, beheading." Zhang Yihai secretly glanced at Qin Fengxiu and found that he was clenching his hands and bowing his head in silence. He could not give him any hint, so Zhang Yihai could only answer truthfully. "That's good." After hearing Zhang Yihai's answer, Yuhaoran nodded with satisfaction and then ordered loudly, "Zhang Yihai, listen my order." Zhang Yihai, who was startled by Yuhaoran's loud voice, responded subconsciously, "Yes, sir." This lowly person offended his superiors and despised the emperor. "I order you to take him down and hand him over to me for investigation," Yuhaoran ordered, pointing at the old man in plain clothes. Facing Yuhaoran's order, Zhang Yihai was suddenly in a dilemma. If he obeyed Yuhaoran's order and went forward to arrest the old man in plain clothes, not to mention himself, even if all the soldiers guarding the city gate in the North City were to attack together, they would not be able to withstand the old man in plain clothes. If he did not obey Yuhaoran's order, it would be a violation of the emperor's order. After that, Yuhaoran would report it to the emperor. Not only would he be beheaded, but he was afraid that his family would be implicated. Because according to the law of the great Emperor Qin's kingdom, Those who violated the emperor's order would be executed together with their whole family. After much consideration, Zhang Yihai, who valued family ties, finally chose to listen to Yu Haoran's orders. "Soldiers, take him down." Zhang Yihai turned his head and called out to the dozens of soldiers at the city gate. He took the lead and charged towards the old man. Seeing Zhang Yihai charging over, a cold glint flashed across the old man's eyes. He secretly activated the law of speed. Then, everyone saw an incomparably shocked expression. Zhang Yihai, who had rushed less than 3 meters away, suddenly had a spin in his head and then fell to the ground with a loud bang dead. The old man's body only swayed slightly. Seeing the plain-clothed old man easily kill Zhang Yihai, not only did Yu Haoran's expression change, he subconsciously took a few steps back. Qin Fengxiu, who was kneeling on the ground, instantly paled. This was because he knew that the matter was completely out of control. If he didn't handle it properly, it would even implicate the vice minister's residence. Insolent madman, Lord Zhang is still a pillar of our Emperor Qin's kingdom. You dared to kill Lord Zhang on the street, which means you intend to become an enemy of our great Emperor Qin's kingdom. As a loyal subject of the empire, how can I, Qin Fengxiu, allow you to be so rampant? How could he prevent the vice minister's residence from being implicated? The only way was to let the old man who killed Zhang Yihai escape. As long as there was no conclusive evidence, no one could do anything to the vice minister's residence, which was deeply entrenched in power. Thus, Qin Fengxiu righteously rebuked while bitterly pleading with his divine sense. "Uncle Li, you've caused a great disaster. You might even implicate my father. Right now, you can only flee far away from Xianyang City and have my father think of a way to quell today's disaster. So, your nephew begs you, quickly leave Xianyang City." Hearing Qin Fengxiu's pleas, the old man couldn't help but frown. He then raised his head and glanced at Qin Fengxiu. Seeing the pleading look in Qin Fengxiu's eyes, the old man softly sighed and decided to listen to his suggestion and temporarily leave Xianyang City. However, when he saw Yu Haoran and He Xiong from the corner of his eye, a cold light flashed through his eyes. Afterwards, he decided to kill Yu Haoran and He Xiong. After removing a great threat from the vice minister's residence, he would leave Xianyang City. Using the law of speed, the old man used almost instantaneous movement to appear in front of Yu Haoran. He planned to use the same method to snap Yu Haoran's neck. But just as he raised his hands, a terrifying power that made him tremble surged out from Yu Haoran's body. "You're courting death." Yu Haoran's face instantly flushed red, and his voice was hoarse as he looked at the old farmer and roared with a ferocious expression. Afterwards, he pointed at the old farmer and softly muttered, "Flourishing curtain." As a strange energy shot out from Yu Haoran's finger, the old man discovered to his horror that his life force was flowing out of his control. In the eyes of outsiders, the old man's silver hair was visibly turning white. In the blink of an eye, he had turned completely white. What was even more frightening was that the old man's originally robust body was rapidly aging at an unimaginable speed. "Yu Haoran, that's enough. If you continue to use the law of flourishing curtain, that old man will die and your foundation will completely collapse." By the time the old man's sea of consciousness and dantian had shrunk to the point that he could no longer stand, the thaling that had fused into Yu Haoran's body hurriedly reminded him. Withdrawing his finger, the thaling instantly left Yu Haoran's body and returned to the jade bed on the top floor of the Victor Pavilion. After instantly losing his massive amount of soul energy, Yu Haoran was just like the old man, unable to stand on his own. Fortunately, the black bear had long since sensed that something was wrong with Yu Haoran and immediately supported him. "You, how did you comprehend that kind of law? How did you control that kind of law?" the old man asked in shock as he sat on the ground. Facing the old man's shocked question, Yu Haoran's heart was also in a state of shock. Actually, when he discovered that the old man had ignored the Great Qin Empire's laws and directly snapped Zhang Yihai's neck, Yu Haoran knew that the old man was still a fugitive. No one could predict the actions of a fugitive. As such, in order to avoid being ambushed by the old man using the law of speed, Howard took the risk of using the possession technique that the Thaling had mentioned before. He allowed the Thaling's soul to forcefully fuse into his body. Through this, he possessed 1% of the Thaling's strength, which was the cultivation of a peak 7th stage martial saint. Perhaps it was because his cultivation and physical body's grade had increased rapidly recently, or perhaps it was because of the 1 chi into 3 purities cultivation technique that allowed his 2 clones to simultaneously withstand the power of the possession technique. Chapter 709. There were still chapters 5 and 6 at night. Xianyang City, in front of the northern city gate. A quasi-martial honor was a realm where one could completely control the power of laws. This was also the fundamental reason why the power of laws he had just displayed was completely different from that of the plain-clothed old man. However, when he had displayed the power of laws controlled by Thaling, he had not felt it too deeply. However, when he had seen the power of laws displayed, he had also been deeply shocked, especially when he had seen the old man lose a large amount of his life force, instantly losing a lifespan that even a martial saint could not control. The shock in his heart had been like a raging wave. Thaling, what kind of power of laws do you control? Even though he had forcefully suppressed the shock in his heart, Howard's voice still trembled as he asked, Howard, don't worry about what kind of power of laws I control. Do you know that you're in big trouble? Thaling, who was sitting cross-legged on the jade bed on the top floor of the Victor, said with a gloomy expression. I know. Howard nodded and smiled bitterly. Originally, according to his agreement with Thaling, he had used the possession technique to possess his body and let Thaling control this body to deal with the plain-clothed old man who possessed the power of the law of speed. However, for some reason, Howard resisted this feeling of losing control. Therefore, when Thaling had just used the possession technique and his spirit body had merged with his body, he had used the consciousness of his spirit to forcefully expel Thaling's consciousness and regain control of his body. It was also because he did not understand Thaling's spirit body and was unfamiliar with the power of the martial saint and martial saint realms that he had not controlled the power of laws that he should have comprehended as a martial saint. He had forcefully used the power of laws controlled as a martial saint. In the end, it had caused a forceful backlash from controlling the power of laws, severely damaging the foundation that he had worked so hard to establish. Quickly deal with the matter at hand, then find a secluded place and think of a way to solve the problem in your body. Although he wanted to harshly criticize Howard, after seeing his current miserable state, he ultimately softened his heart and reminded him, I got it. Nodding his head, Howard gestured for He Xiong to help him walk towards the old man. But at that moment, Qin Fengxiu suddenly appeared in front of the linen-clothed old man and smashed his head with a palm strike. Everyone has the right to punish those who offend their superiors and defy the authority of the emperor. After killing the plain-clothed old man, Qin Fengxiu pointed out righteously. Coldly glancing at Qin Fengxiu, Howard didn't say anything. He just signaled He Xiong to take him into Xianyang City. However, he swore to himself that he would definitely destroy Qin Fengxiu and the vice minister's residence. Facing an expert who was able to turn a peak 7th grade martial saint into a powerless old man in an instant, the remaining few rich playboys obediently made way for Howard and watched him enter Xianyang City. Lord Meng, what kind of secret technique was the prince consort's flourishing scene just now? How could its power be so terrifying? About 1,000 meters away from the northern city gate, 2 middle-aged scholars also watched Howard enter Xianyang City with solemn expressions. The slightly younger middle-aged scholar asked with a trembling voice, Only martial saints can control the power of laws. After leaving behind an explanation, the middle-aged scholar called Lord Ming turned around and headed straight for the eastern city gate, his eyes full of regret. He planned to enter Xianyang City through the eastern city gate. He Xiong, take me to the Clear Source Guild Hall immediately. Using the last trace of consciousness before fainting, Yu Haoran ordered. After sleeping for an unknown period of time, Yu Haoran's consciousness was no longer willing to stay idle like this. Then, he forcibly broke through the shackles of darkness and slowly opened his eyes. Haoran, you're finally awake. Just as Yu Haoran opened his eyes, a familiar and warm voice entered his ears. Barely moving his eyes, Yu Haoran glanced at the person sitting beside him. He wanted to squeeze out a smile and greet him, but he discovered that he could not control his body at all. He could not even make a facial expression. Haoran, although I don't know if the secret technique you just used is as terrifying as the rumors say, your current situation is very bad. It would not be an exaggeration to say that you're a cripple. Seeing Yu Haoran look at him, Feng Qingyun complained with a pained heart. In response, Yu Haoran did not say anything. He closed his eyes again and wanted to use his divine sense to check his body, but he discovered that he could not use his divine sense. Helpless, he could only use the imprint in his sea of consciousness to contact Thaling. Thaling, you're awake. After hearing Yu Haoran's call, Thaling, whose complexion was not very good, appeared in his sea of consciousness. Thaling, are you okay? Sensing that Thaling's breath was too weak, Yu Haoran hurriedly asked with concern. Don't worry, I'm fine. Shaking his head, Thaling comforted him. Then, he said with a dignified expression, but your current situation is much worse than I expected. Thaling, I can't use my divine sense now, and I don't know the real situation of my body. Please help me check. Hearing that Thaling was fine, Yu Haoran secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and then motioned for him to check his own condition. I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? In fact, early on, when Yu Haoran was unconscious, Thaling had used his divine sense to carefully check his body and knew the state of his body like the back of his hand. I'm a person who likes challenges, so let's hear the bad news first. Faced with the two choices given by Thaling, Yu Haoran made a choice jokingly. All the meridians are broken, the Dantian has basically collapsed, and the foundation has been destroyed. Perhaps because of Yu Haoran's relaxed attitude, Thaling, who was originally in a heavy mood, relaxed a lot. He also laughed and gave a result that would cause a normal warrior to collapse. Sigh. Hearing the results given by Thaling, Yu Haoran only sighed softly and said in a tone that was not too dejected. It's about what I expected. Then he continued to ask jokingly, then what's the good news? Because of the existence of Victor, your sea of consciousness did not suffer any damage, but your soul was overused and is temporarily in a state of hibernation. Thaling replied with a smile. And this time, Thaling's smile came from the bottom of his heart. For a warrior, especially a martial arts great master who had opened his sea of consciousness and condensed his soul, the physical body was important, but the sea of consciousness and soul were even more important. Chapter 710. In the knowledge sea, thank goodness, thank goodness. Hearing that his knowledge sea and spirit were fine, Yu Haoran heaved a sigh of relief and said thank goodness twice. Yu Haoran, do you have any specific treatment methods for the following injuries? Ignoring Yu Haoran's relief, Thaling was now most concerned about how to help him recover as soon as possible. After all, time waits for no one. Because of his background, Yu Haoran was already far behind the other two people. Now was the critical time to catch up. He could not afford to waste too much time and opportunity because of his injuries. Otherwise, his and Yu Haoran's future would be very tragic. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran thought carefully for a while and then gave a specific treatment plan. Thaling, for the recovery of my injuries, I want to start from 3 aspects. Go ahead. Thaling looked at Yu Haoran expectantly and signaled. The first step is to use the elixir to recover the greatly consumed spirit, and then use the spirit's power to dredge the broken meridians. Hearing Yu Haoran's first treatment plan, Thaling nodded in agreement. The second step is to merge with the second doppelganger and use the second doppelganger's Dantian to repair the collapsed Dantian. At this point, Yu Haoran suddenly became silent. Go on. Using the second doppelganger's complete dantian to repair the collapsed dantian of the main body, Yuhauran's second treatment plan made Thowling very excited and wanted to know what the third treatment plan was. Thowling, using the second doppelganger to repair the collapsed dantian, is a very time-consuming process. Facing Thowling's questioning, Yuhauran thought for a while and then said in a pleading tone, "In 5 days, it will be my engagement ceremony with Ling Fei. I can't attend the ceremony with a nearly crippled body. Therefore, I need to use the victor's ability to accelerate time and try to repair the collapsed dantian within 4 days." After hearing Yuhauran's request, Thowling did not immediately give an answer. Instead, according to his own situation, he calculated the maximum time acceleration ratio that could be used by the victor. "Yuhauran, in my current state, I can accelerate time for 2 years in the outside world for 1 day in the pagoda. I don't know if that can meet your requirements." After careful calculation, Thowling gave him the time acceleration ratio. That's great. Just now, he had asked for 4 days to repair his dantian. He had calculated it according to the time acceleration ratio when he first met the tower spirit. Now, after hearing that the victor's time acceleration ability had doubled, Yuhauran suddenly felt ecstatic and cheered. In response, Thowling only smiled and did not discuss with Yuhauran the treasures that needed to be exchanged for using the victor's time acceleration. After all, after such a long time together, he and Yuhauran were bound together for good and bad. How could he still be as cautious as before? "Yuhauran, what about the third step of the treatment plan? After the dantian is completely recovered, I plan to refine the rank 4 third-grade Nirvana pill and use the power of Nirvana to restore the damaged foundation," Yuhauran said in a serious tone when he heard Thowling asking about the third step of the treatment plan. Could it be the Nirvana pill that is said to have the same effect as the Phoenix's Nirvana pill? Hearing that Yuhauran planned to refine the pill, Thowling stood up in shock and asked in disbelief. "That's right." Nodding heavily, Yuhauran confirmed. "Yuhauran, although the Nirvana pill does not need to withstand the lightning tribulation like the 5 Lives Mystical Gate pill and the Ice-Hard Jadebone pill, because it has the heaven-defying effect of Nirvana, the difficulty of refining it is more than 10 times that of the 5 Lives Mystical Gate pill and the Ice-Hard Jadebone pill. With your current alchemy grandmaster cultivation, it is impossible to refine it successfully." Thowling could not help but question Yuhauran's confirmation. "I know." Facing Thowling's doubts, Yuhauran did not argue and nodded in agreement. But then he said in a determined tone, "But I have to take the risk to refine it, even if I fail in the end, because this is the only way I can restore the damaged foundation." Facing Yuhauran's determination to cut off all means of retreat, Thowling did not continue to question anything, and then began to organize the materials needed to refine the Nirvana pill for him, but found that the most important material was missing. "Yuhauran, if you want to refine the Nirvana pill, you need at least a drop of blood essence of an exotic beast that contains the bloodline of the divine beast Phoenix and has reached the peak of the 9th level of the 4th rank Sage Realm. And we don't have the blood essence of such an exotic beast in our collection." "Don't worry, the palace's treasury has it," Yuhauran replied confidently. Since he planned to refine the Nirvana pill, he had already calculated the main and auxiliary herbs needed to refine the Nirvana pill, and he also knew the source of the missing materials. Although the blood essence of a 4th rank Sage Realm exotic beast that contains the bloodline of the divine beast Phoenix is very precious, with your relationship with Princess Ling Fei, I believe they will not refuse. Hearing that the Qin Kingdom's palace's treasury contained the bloodline of the divine beast Phoenix, Thowling subconsciously considered how to exchange for it. However, when he thought of the intimate relationship between Yuhauran and Qin Lingfei, who were about to be engaged, he suddenly said with a smile. Then, he continued to organize the 80 kinds of auxiliary herbs needed to refine the Nirvana pill, but found that he was missing 3 kinds of 4th rank precious herbs. In the face of the missing 3 kinds of 4th rank precious herbs, Yuhauran's solution was still very simple, and that was to get them from the palace's treasury. In this regard, Thowling was deeply speechless, and he directly put the sorted auxiliary herbs into the victor, waiting for Yu Haoran to restore his dantian so that he could directly use them to refine the nirvana pill. Yu Haoran, since you have a reasonable arrangement on how to recover your injuries, then I will not continue to disturb you. You should hurry up and recover. Then, after telling Yu Haoran to hurry up and heal his injuries, he directly crushed a dozen top elixirs containing soul power to help Yu Haoran awaken his dormant divine soul. After that, he returned to the jade bed on the top floor of the victor and began to recover his divine soul body that had also suffered from the backlash of the power of law. After Thaling returned to the victor, Yu Haoran's consciousness did not immediately return to his body. It was not until the dormant divine soul woke up that his consciousness returned to his body. Master, the awakening of his divine soul meant that he had the ability to speak again. Seeing Feng Qingyun's anxious face and not knowing how to wake him up, Yu Haoran called out softly, "Haoran, are you okay?" Seeing Yu Haoran open his eyes again, Feng Qingyun hurriedly asked, Chapter 711. In the Qingyao Pavilion. Haoran, don't lie to your master. Yu Haoran's reassurance didn't make Feng Qingyun feel at ease. He said with a dignified expression, "Just now, I used my divine sense to carefully check the situation in your body. Not only are all your meridians broken, even your dantian has completely collapsed. Even your foundation may be affected to a certain extent." At this point, Feng Qingyun couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He didn't know what to say next. "Master, have you forgotten your disciple's true identity?" Knowing that his terrible situation made Feng Qingyun blame himself because he was helpless, Yu Haoran hurriedly persuaded with a smile. "Your disciple is a peak alchemy grandmaster. Haoran, could it be that you have a way to heal yourself?" After hearing Yu Haoran mention his true identity as the Emperor Qin's kingdom, Feng Qingyun immediately asked energetically, "I already have a preliminary treatment method, but I need an absolutely quiet environment to go into seclusion." Nodding, Yu Haoran deliberately reminded. After all, after fusing with the second doppelganger, he needed to immediately enter the victor, and then rely on the victor's ability to accelerate time to use 4 years to repair his dantian. Therefore, during these 2 days in the victor, he couldn't meet anyone, and he couldn't let anyone enter the room where he was in seclusion to avoid exposing the existence of the victor and Thaling. "Okay, I'll tell your senior and junior brothers not to disturb you for the time being." Feng Qingyun nodded in agreement to Yu Haoran's request, but at the same time, he thought of 2 people with special identities and hurriedly reminded him. "Haoran, when He Xiong brought you back to the Qingyao Pavilion in the Qingyuan Guild Hall, the Emperor Qin and Princess Ling Fei had already come. They deliberately told me that when you woke up, I must inform them. So, before you go into seclusion to heal your wounds, I wonder if you can meet Emperor Qin and Princess Ling Fei." "All right, then I'll have to trouble you to inform Emperor Qin and Ling Fei. It would take at least half a day to restore the divine soul and use the power of the divine soul to open up the broken meridians. Furthermore, before using Victor to repair his dantian, he also needed to meet with Emperor Qin and Ling Fei. Firstly, he wanted them to feel at ease and continue to prepare for the engagement ceremony. Secondly, Ling Fei had to prepare the blood essences of exotic beasts and the 3 types of 4th-grade spirit herbs needed to refine the nirvana pill. Thirdly, he needed Emperor Qin's guarantee that even if he used thunderous methods to destroy the assistant minister's manor, he would not be punished afterwards. "All right, I'll inform them right away." After receiving Yu Haoran's reply, Feng Qingyun hurriedly left the room and instructed Chu Zhongyu and the others who were guarding the door. "Zhongyu, your 9th junior brother needs an absolutely quiet environment to heal his wounds. Don't disturb him for the time being." "Master, we promise that we won't speak. We just want to take a look at 9th junior brother and see how he is right now. Is that all right?" Just as Feng Qingyun's order was given, 5th senior brother Huang Zonghua cautiously raised his request. "No." Feng Qingyun decisively refused without even considering it. "Master, how about we just take a look from the door? Just one look." Huang Zonghua begged bitterly. No. Feng Qingyun also refused without even considering it. Master, I'll only truly go into seclusion to heal after I meet with Emperor Qin and Ling Fei. Since I'm free now, please let eldest senior brother and the others in. His fifth senior brother, who would never refuse his master's orders, was begging while risking his master's anger. This was enough to show how worried his fellow disciples were about him. It was reasonable for him to see them before he went into seclusion to heal his wounds and warn them to be careful in Xianying City. After all, he had offended many people during the Qin Alliance conference. Perhaps these people were afraid of his identity as the emperor's son-in-law and a grandmaster pillmaster, so they did not dare to act against him. However, it was very likely that they would secretly retaliate against eldest senior brother and the others. All right, but you can only stay for 3 minutes at most. Since Yu Haoran had already taken the initiative to ask, Feng Qingyun could not continue to refuse. He nodded in agreement and gave a time limit. Master, we understand. We promise to leave the room within 3 minutes. Eldest senior brother, Chu Zhongyu patted his chest and promised. Ninth senior brother, Chu Zhongyu and the others pushed open the door and entered the room. When they saw Yu Haoran's pale face and his weak aura that was even weaker than that of an ordinary person, their faces could not help but sink. Gongsun Yuding, who had the worst mental state cultivation and had always had special feelings for Yu Haoran, rushed to the bedside and tightly held Yu Haoran's hand as she cried and shouted. Yuding, don't cry. I'm really fine. Forcing out a smile, Yu Haoran comforted her with a smile. However, when he saw that his comforting did not make Gongsun Yuding stop crying, but instead made her even sadder, Yu Haoran could only use his trump card. Yuding, if you continue to cry, you will definitely become a big painted face. Then I will really see your ugliest side. Senior brother. Yu Haoran's joke made Gongsun Yuding immediately stop crying and quickly wipe away the tears on her face. However, when she saw the teasing smile in Yu Haoran's eyes, she immediately cried out in dissatisfaction. Seeing his eldest senior brother frown slightly, Gongsun Yiming hurriedly shouted to Gongsun Yuding, Yuding, come here. After Gongsun Yuding returned to Gongsun Yiming's side, Chu Zhongyu sat by the bed. However, he did not care about Yu Haoran's injuries. Instead, he directly asked who was the culprit behind Yu Haoran's injuries. Ninth junior brother, we are not familiar with the people in Xianying City. We don't know anyone here, so we can't find out the cause of your injuries. So now, please tell me, your senior brother, who hurt you? Although Chu Zhongyu's tone was calm, Yu Haoran could clearly feel the strong murderous intent that he was trying to suppress. In this regard, how could Yu Haoran dare to tell him the truth? Eldest senior brother, it's not that I don't want to tell you who the culprit is. It's just that you don't have the cultivation and strength to avenge me. If you rashly seek revenge, I'm afraid that Master and I will have to collect your corpses and avenge you afterwards. Although telling the truth might hurt the eldest senior brother and the other's self-esteem, it was better to let them die. After all, Xianying City was different from the 100 Qi Gate. In the 100 Qi Gate, a martial king could become a peak department elder, and a martial emperor was the strongest fighting force in the sect. However, in Xianying City, where martial zones were as common as dogs, martial kings were everywhere, and even martial emperors could not shake. Chu Zhongyu and the others were like meat on a chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. I know. Chu Zhongyu nodded. He did not feel the slightest bit of dissatisfaction because Yu Haoran had told him the truth. He just wanted to know who the culprit was. Chapter 712. In Qingya Pavilion. Eldest senior brother, tell me the truth. Why are you so eager to know who the murderer is? Yu Haoran felt that something was wrong when he saw that Chu Zhongyu refused to give up the idea of asking who the murderer was. This was not in line with the personality of his eldest senior brother, so he could not help but question him. Facing Yu Haoran's question, Chu Zhongyu could not help but glance at Huang Zonghua. Fifth senior brother, you tell me. Yu Haoran's face darkened as he shouted. Yu Haoran noticed that Chu Zhongyu was subconsciously observing Huang Zhonghua's actions. He knew that the person who really wanted to know the murderer was his fifth senior brother, Huang Zhonghua. Thinking of his lively personality and his willingness to make friends, Yu Haoran was worried that he might have been deceived by some people in Xianyang City who were more cunning than a fox. Nothing. I just want to use the murderer's strength to motivate us to practice harder. Huang Zhonghua evaded Chu Zhongyu's eyes and replied, "How could Yu Haoran, who knew his character too well, believe him? Fifth senior brother, if you want everyone in Qingyun to die in Xianyang City, you could choose not to tell me. Moreover, you can leave now." Yu Haoran closed his eyes in disappointment. He did not want to see them at all. Ninth senior brother, it's actually a disciple from a big family in Xianyang City who is willing to help us. Gong Sun Yuding could not bear to see Yu Haoran disappointed. She impulsively revealed the reason why Chu Zhongyu and Huang Zhonghua were so eager to find out who the murderer was. Huang Zhonghua could not help but glare at her angrily. "Who is it?" Yu Haoran suddenly opened his eyes and asked with a fierce expression. Although he had saved many people in Xianyang City with the antidote elixir, there were not many people who were truly grateful to him. Instead, he had offended many people because he had exchanged the antidote elixir for elixirs. Therefore, he did not believe that someone would risk offending the vice minister of the Ministry of Rights to help his fifth senior brother. That person has been in contact with fifth senior brother. I don't know his specific background either. Facing Yu Haoran's question, Gong Sun Yuding hurriedly pointed at Huang Zhonghua, as if she didn't know. Fifth senior brother. Looking at Huang Zhonghua, Yu Haoran suppressed his anger and asked, "Ninth junior brother, you just need to tell me who the murderer is and then recuperate in peace. As for the rest, you don't have to worry." Shaking his head, Huang Zhonghua did not reveal who was supporting him. Instead, he continued to ask about the origin of the murderer. In response, Yu Haoran could not help but let out a long sigh as he spoke with a cold tone. "Eldest senior brother, when Master returns, I will ask him to arrange for you to leave Xianyang City and return to Qingyun Peak." "Why?" Chu Zhongyu's expression changed as he asked. This time, all the members of Qingyun's faction were present. Their purpose was to witness the engagement ceremony between Yu Haoran and Princess Ling Fei. Now, the engagement ceremony had not yet been held, and Yu Haoran wanted to drive them back to Qingyun Peak. How could Chu Zhongyu not ask clearly? "Because I don't want my engagement ceremony to become a funeral for the destruction of Qingyun Peak." Yu Haoran replied rudely in response to Chu Zhongyu's question. "Ninth junior brother, the disciple who is willing to help us is a kind person. Moreover, the elders of his family have been indebted to you and are willing to help us." Seeing that Yu Haoran's reason for driving them back to Qingyun Peak was still to find out who was willing to help them, Chu Zhongyu could only reveal a little about the person's character and the reason why he was willing to help. In response, Yu Haoran could not help but sneer. "Eldest senior brother, do you know what I did in Xianyang City before the new year? Do you know how many noble families I offended in Xianyang City? Do you know how many disciples of noble families want to kill me because of my marriage with Princess Ling Fei?" 3 questions in a row not only made Chu Zhongyu's expression change greatly, but also made Huang Zhonghua realize that something was wrong. After looking at each other and getting a nod from Huang Zhonghua, Chu Zhongyu finally revealed who was willing to help them. "Ninth junior brother, the person who is willing to help us is Wang Yizhua from the Wang family in Xianyang City. It's him." After hearing that Chu Zhongyu revealed that Wang Yizhua was the one behind the scenes, Yu Haoran was shocked. Then, he revealed a puzzled expression. "Ninth junior brother, what's wrong?" Yu Haoran was surprised at first and then puzzled, which made Chu Zhongyu puzzled. "Eldest senior brother, Wang Yizhua was originally one of the chosen heirs of the Wang family, but now he has lost his qualifications. Do you know why?" Yu Haoran suppressed the puzzlement in his heart for the time being and asked with a sneer, "Could it be because of you?" Chu Zhongyu immediately guessed that the reason for Wang Yizhua's crippling was very likely related to his ninth junior brother, who was lying in bed. "The reason why I was willing to let him live back, then, was to abolish his qualifications as a successor and expel him from Xianyang City." As Yu Haoran explained, the puzzlement that he had suppressed just now surged into his heart again. However, according to the agreement I made with the Wang family's ancestor, Wang Yizhua should have been expelled from Xianyang City more than half a month ago and then be punished in Qingyang City, the territory of the Wang family. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation and muttering to himself, both Chu Zhongyu and Huang Zonghua turned pale. For the children of big families, being deprived of their qualifications as heirs was similar to the hatred of killing one's father or stealing one's wife. Wang Yizhua's enthusiastic offer of help was probably just as Yu Haoran had said. He didn't really want to help them, but intended to push them into the fire pit. After thinking about Wang Yizhua's truly sinister intentions, the second senior brother and the others all looked at Huang Zonghua suspiciously. This was because they had received Wang Yizhua and agreed to accept his help all because of Huang Zonhua's recommendation and persuasion. Otherwise, they wouldn't have easily believed the promise of a stranger. Ninth junior brother, I really didn't know that Wang Yizhua was such a person and didn't know about the deep hatred between you. Otherwise, how could I have accepted his help and brought him to see eldest senior brother and the others? Huang Zonghua, who was slightly flustered, hurriedly explained when he felt the questioning gazes of the second senior brother and the others. Fifth senior brother, I know you have good intentions, and I also believe that you have been deceived by Wang Yizhua. Seeing the flustered Huang Zonghua, Yu Haoran knew his current mood and thoughts. He also knew that he was worried that his negligence and mistakes would cause his senior and junior brothers to alienate him, and that he might not be able to continue to establish himself in Qingyun Peak in the future. Chapter 713. In the Qingya Pavilion. Not to mention you, even eldest senior brother and second senior brother were also deceived by Wang Yizhua. Alas, faced with Yu Haoran's criticism, everyone except Gongsun Yuding could not help but sigh with self-blame. Eldest senior brother, second senior brother, junior sister Gongsun. Yu Haoran looked at his brothers and Gongsun Yuding one by one and exhorted them with a serious expression. Unlike the simple-minded people in the sects who are always involved in the struggle for power, the people in Xianyang City are not easy to get along with, let alone the disciples of the family who are working for greater benefits. I asked my master to bring you to Xianyang City for two reasons. First, I want you to witness the big event in my life. Second, I hope you can broaden your horizons, increase your experience, and sharpen your minds through what you see and hear in Xianyang City. Yu Haoran stared at Chu Zhongyu and exhorted him. Eldest senior brother, from now on, I hope you can take second senior brother and the others out of the Qingyuan Guild Hall and take a look at the streets of Xianyang City. See how the ordinary people in Xianyang City survive, and think about the reasons why they can establish themselves in Xianyang City. But you can't get involved or get involved in it. Ninth junior brother, I got it. Chu Zhongyu stood up from the bed and nodded his head heavily as he replied. Eldest senior brother, stay here. You guys go out first. Although Chu Zhongyu agreed without hesitation, Yu Haoran didn't have much hope that he would be able to learn how to survive by observing the lives of ordinary people. Fortunately, he already had an idea of how to train them. Knowing that he had something to tell eldest senior brother alone, second senior brother hurriedly asked the other junior brothers to leave the room. Yu Haoran looked at Chu Zhongyu, who was standing beside the bed with a face full of shame. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and opened his eyes. Eldest senior brother, after you return to Qingyun Peak after attending my engagement ceremony with Ling Fei, I hope you can spare half of your time to play a game of chess with 100 Qi Gate as the chessboard and all the subordinate forces as the chess pieces. A game of chess that controls the life and death of millions of people. After hearing Yu Haoran's instructions and explanation, Chu Zhongyu completely forgot the shame in his heart and looked at him with a frightened expression. Ignoring Chu Zhongyu's fear, Yu Haoran continued. I have two goals for setting up this chess game. Firstly, I hope that you, as a chess player, can be reborn and truly possess the ability of a sect leader by personally controlling this chess game. Secondly, I hope that through this game of chess, Qingyun Peak can obtain a powerful capital in the future and also remove obstacles for the Emperor Qin's conquest of the world. 9 Junior Brother. The game you set up is too big, too complicated, too ruthless, and too vicious. I don't have the slightest confidence that I can play it without any mistakes. Although controlling the life and death of millions of people sounded very exciting and hot-blooded, Chu Zhongyu knew his own ability and character. He also knew that he could never complete Yu Haoran's instructions. Eldest Senior Brother, I will ask Third Senior Brother, Fourth Senior Brother, Sixth Senior Brother, Seventh Senior Brother, and the Gongsun siblings to help you. Ignoring Chu Zhongyu's lack of confidence, Yu Haoran made a decision in an unquestionable tone and continued. Eldest Senior Brother, please ask Second Senior Brother to come in. Alas, seeing that Yu Haoran had made up his mind and did not allow him to object, Chu Zhongyu could only sigh and then walked out of the room with a heavy face. 9 Junior Brother, are you looking for me? Lu Guangwei, who entered the room after him, asked with concern. Second Senior Brother, after attending the engagement ceremony of Ling Fei and I, don't go back to Qingyun Peak with Master for the time being. I want to take you to a place. Compared to Chu Zhongyu's serious attitude, Yu Haoran's attitude towards Lu Guangwei was very gentle. Where are we going? Yu Haoran deliberately asked Lu Guangwei to go with a seriously injured body. Lu Guangwei immediately became very interested in the place they were going to. A place that can satisfy your wishes. Yu Haoran replied with a smile. After that, he withdrew his smile and instructed. Second Senior Brother, please ask 8th Senior Brother and Zheng Jun to come in. Okay. Yu Haoran's half-hearted way of telling Lu Guangwei about the place that could satisfy his wishes made Lu Guangwei feel quite depressed and speechless. However, seeing that Yu Haoran was unwilling to say more, he could only get up and leave the room. 8th Senior Brother, Zheng Jun, after attending the engagement ceremony of Ling Fei and I will arrange for the two of you to join the army of Emperor Qin's northern expedition. I hope that the two of you can quickly improve your cultivation and strength through cruel battles and killings. Yu Haoran gave a brief order to Lin Xian and Wu Zhenjun, who had just entered the room. Then he simply ignored their opinions and signaled for them to leave the room. Looking at the closed door, Yu Haoran could not help but sigh. Originally, he wanted to wait until his engagement ceremony was over before telling them about his arrangements. However, 5th Senior Brother was too trusting of others' actions and had almost caused the destruction of the sect. Therefore, he had to make arrangements in advance. Moreover, using the sect as the chessboard and using the affiliated forces of the sect as the chess pieces to control the life and death of millions of people, he originally only wanted Eldest Senior Brother and Third Senior Brother to be in charge. However, when he saw that they, as bystanders at the beginning, did not recognize Wang Yijua's sinister intentions, he realized that his idea was too simple and his understanding of his senior brothers was too shallow. Therefore, he decided to let 4th Senior Brother, 5th Senior Brother, 6th Senior Brother, 7th Senior Brother, and Gongsun Yiming assist them in expanding their experience and sharpening their simple characters. After exhaling the turbid qi accumulated in his chest, Yu Haoran closed his eyes and began to connect his broken meridians with the help of his recovered divine soul. However, reality did not give him too much time to connect his broken meridians quietly. Just as he was connecting the broken meridians in his arms, the door was suddenly pushed open, and then a familiar fragrance of a young girl came to his nose. Seeing Qin Ling Fei's tearful face, Yu Haoran greeted her with a chuckle. Ling Fei. Haoran. Although it had not been long since they left Qingyao Pavilion, Qin Ling Fei's heart ached when she saw Yu Haoran's miserable look. She could not help crying. Silly girl, don't cry. I'm really fine. Yu Haoran raised his left hand, which had just connected, and opened his meridians and stroked her hair to comfort her. Chapter 714. In Qingyao Pavilion. Ling Fei, if I, Yu Haoran, become an ordinary person who can't even trust a chicken, are you still willing to be engaged to me, grow old with me, and hold my hand until we grow old together? Facing Qin Ling Fei's nervous look, Yu Haoran was tempted and couldn't help but want to test her. He wanted to see if the woman in front of him could really make him completely freeze the door of love. Yu Haoran, what do you mean by what you said just now? After hearing Yu Haoran's question, Qin Ling Fei, who was originally nervous, suddenly pulled a long face and asked angrily, "Do you think that I, Qin Ling Fei, am a superficial woman who only cares about appearance? Or do you think that I, Qin Ling Fei, like you because of your extraordinary talent?" Seeing that his test just now really angered Qin Ling Fei, Yu Haoran hurriedly apologized. "Ling Fei, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Yu Haoran, you've made my heart ache, and I'm very disappointed." Yu Haoran took the initiative to apologize, which meant that he was sure that she had an ulterior motive for liking him. This made Qin Ling Fei very angry and sad. With tears in her eyes again, she stood up directly and wanted to leave the room that made her sad and disappointed. However, Yu Haoran, who had sensed that something was wrong, hurriedly held her hand and pulled her in front of him forcibly. There was a trace of sadness in his voice. "Ling Fei, before you decide to leave, can you listen to me first? A story that happened to me." "Go ahead," Qin Ling Fei said with a straight face. She wanted to leave, but she was reluctant to leave. Otherwise, Yu Haoran, who was seriously injured, could not hold her back. 1.5 months ago, a family affiliated to the 100 Qi Gate was suddenly massacred. After that, Yu Haoran told Qin Ling Fei about how he and Ruyu met, fell in love, and how they broke up. He even told Qin Ling Fei about his intention to freeze their relationship because of Ruyu's betrayal. After she finished talking about her first relationship after her rebirth, Yu Haoran took the initiative to let go of Qin Ling Fei's hand, letting her go as she pleased. "Haoran, don't worry. No matter what happens in the future, I won't leave you, nor will I betray you." Feeling Yu Haoran take the initiative to let go, Qin Ling Fei, who felt sorry for him, immediately held onto him again. She leaned her head on his chest and promised gently. "Ling Fei," stroking Qin Ling Fei's hair with his right hand, Yu Haoran took the initiative to open the door to their relationship and called out passionately, "By the way, Haoran, you haven't answered me yet. Are you completely useless?" Feeling Yu Haoran's gradually accelerating heartbeat and the strong aura emitting from his body, Qin Ling Fei, who had never felt like this before, was a little flustered. She even had a slight impulse in her heart. However, when she thought of the strict etiquette of the imperial family, she quickly adjusted her state of mind and sat up straight. "Did your father say that?" Yu Haoran asked unhappily. Since he was brought back to Qingyao Pavilion by He Xiong, he was protected by a master who comprehended the special power of law. Other than Qin Ling Fei, perhaps only Emperor Qin could come into contact with him. Furthermore, with Emperor Qin's quasi-martial honor-level cultivation, he would be able to determine his true condition just based on his aura. However, what made Yu Haoran very unhappy was that, after knowing his true condition, he did not hurry to think of a way to save him. Instead, he told Qin Ling Fei about his injuries. Could it be that he was the one who truly regretted it? Faced with Yu Haoran's unhappy questioning, Qin Ling Fei did not know how to answer. She could only laugh dryly. Qin Ling Fei's dry laugh let Yu Haoran know that his guess was right. Furthermore, he knew even more clearly that Emperor Qin must have persuaded Qin Ling Fei to reconsider whether he was suitable. Therefore, his original intention of giving the icy hard jade bone pill to Emperor Qin through the betrothal gift changed. He wanted to extort a huge sum from Emperor Qin to vent the hatred in his heart. "Ling Fei, give me 4 days. Give me 4 days, and you'll see a lively Yu Haoran appear in front of you again," Yu Haoran promised as he held Qin Ling Fei's jade-like hand tightly. "I believe in you." Qin Ling Fei nodded and looked gently at Yu Haoran. "Oh, right." Thinking of the mutant beast's blood essence and the 3 fourth-grade spiritual herbs that he urgently needed to refine the Nirvana pill, Yuhaoran quickly used his will to take out a blank jade slip from his storage ring. He wrote down the mutant beast's blood essence and the spiritual herbs he needed on the jade slip and handed it to Qin Lingfei. Lingfei, if I want to completely recover and regain my monstrous talent, I need to refine a special pill. However, I'm currently lacking a few ingredients for refining the pill, so I hope you can find these ingredients from the palace's treasury. Qin Lingfei took the jade slip from Yuhaoran's hand and glanced at the mutant beast's blood essence and spiritual herbs recorded on it. Haoran, there's no need to go to the palace's treasury. I have a mutant beast's blood essence and spiritual herbs recorded on the jade slip. Afterwards, she took out a pill bottle and 3 jade boxes from her storage ring. She picked up the pill bottle and opened it. A scorching aura that instantly raised the temperature of the room by more than 20 degrees radiated from the pill bottle. The blood essence of a rank 3 exalted realm, first rank flamingo. The sudden increase in temperature and the energy fluctuations in the blood essence immediately alerted Thaling, who was healing himself into victor. Thaling couldn't help but cry out in surprise when he scanned the mutant beast's blood essence in the pill bottle with his divine sense. There were 2 ways to increase the success rate of refining the Nirvana pill. The first way was to rely on the alchemist's own alchemy skills. Given Yuhaoran's current state, it was impossible for him to improve his alchemy skills in a short period of time. The second way was to use the mutant beast's blood essence as the main ingredient. The higher the mutant beast's blood essence's grade, the greater the success rate of refining the pill. Originally, Thaling didn't have much hope of successfully refining the Nirvana pill because of Yuhaoran's alchemy skills. However, when he saw that the mutant beast's blood essence that Qin Lingfei took out was actually a rank 3 exalted realm first rank, a glimmer of hope rose in his heart. Lingfei, thank you. Ignoring the surprised pagoda genie, Yuhaoran put the lid back on the pill bottle. He supported her shoulders and let her climb onto his chest again as he thanked her emotionally. Haoran, this is what I should do. Qin Lingfei replied softly while feeling shy in the face of Yuhaoran's passionate actions. Cough. Just as Yuhaoran and Qin Lingfei were enjoying the peace of their own world, a soft cough suddenly sounded from outside the door. Chapter 715. In Xingya Pavilion. Lingfei, you could go back first. Looking at the blushing Qin Lingfei, Yuhaoran said dotingly, when our engagement ceremony comes, I will give you a surprise that you will never forget. Okay. Nodding slightly, Qin Lingfei left the room reluctantly. She was reluctant to leave Yuhaoran. Cough. Seeing that Qin Lingfei still hadn't come out, a soft cough came from outside the door. It meant that the person outside the door was getting impatient. However, after hearing the familiar cough twice and thinking about the misunderstanding of him and Ling Fei almost breaking up, Yuhaoran's heart was suddenly filled with anger. He ordered Qin Lingfei with an unhappy expression. Lingfei, please help me pass a message to someone when you go out. Just say that I, Yuhaoran, am seriously injured and not far from death. In order to prevent the bad luck of a dying person like me from affecting his destiny, I won't invite him in for the time being. Haoran. Hearing Yuhaoran's sarcastic words, Qin Lingfei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's my father. Also, help me pass a message to him. Although the icy hard jade bone pill has been successfully refined, I will leave it as a legacy to my fiancée. Seeing Qin Lingfei's dissatisfied reminder, although Yuhaoran didn't continue to mock and ridicule, his anger couldn't be quelled. He still didn't intend to let Emperor Qin have an easy time and began to arrange the ownership of the icy hard jade bone pill. Yuhaoran didn't lower his voice when he mocked and ridiculed, so Emperor Qin, who was standing outside the door, heard it clearly. Especially when Feng Qingyun was beside him, it made him feel very awkward. However, he didn't get angry because of it. After all, he was the one in the wrong. He had taken the initiative to persuade his daughter to abandon Yuhaoran. It was understandable that Yuhaoran would complain about him. However, When he heard that the icy heart jade bone pill had already been successfully refined, and the result was that it wasn't given to him, he immediately became anxious. He had already passed the soul tribulation and heart tribulation. As long as he used the icy heart jade bone pill to pass the body tribulation, he would be able to reach the martial revered realm soon. Although he was anxious, Emperor Qin did not dare to directly push open the door and barge in. If he angered Yu Haoran, he really would not have any hope of obtaining the ice heart jade bone pill. After all, he had seen Yu Haoran's vengeful personality more than once. "Haoran, what are you talking about?" When she heard Yu Haoran mention the relics, Qin Lingfei suddenly felt flustered and immediately stopped him angrily. "Lingfei, you go back first." After a series of mocking and ridiculing and threats, Yu Haoran slightly calmed the anger in his heart. He then smiled and indicated to Qin Lingfei. "Then what about my imperial father?" Pointing at Emperor Qin outside the door, Qin Lingfei asked in a low voice. "Let him bask in the sun. I won't see him for the time being." Yu Haoran also replied in a low voice. Then he closed his eyes and ignored the dissatisfaction in Qin Lingfei's eyes, as if he was going to heal his injuries. Seeing that Yu Haoran was still unwilling to forgive her imperial father and had closed his eyes to heal his injuries, Qin Lingfei couldn't help but shake her head with a bitter smile. Then she pushed open the door and walked out. Fei, seeing Qin Lingfei walk out of the room and quickly close the door, Emperor Qin no longer had his usual majesty. He looked at Qin Lingfei cautiously and expectantly. Ignoring her imperial father's expectant eyes, Qin Lingfei respectfully said to Feng Qinyun, "Master, according to the imperial etiquette of my great Emperor Qin Kingdom, it is not appropriate for me to leave the palace before the engagement. Therefore, I will not be able to come here to visit Haoran for the next few days. I will have to trouble you to take care of Haoran for me. Princess Ling Fei does not need to worry. Haoran is my most valued disciple. Of course, I will not let him suffer any harm." Feng Qinyun promised with a smile. Then he directly turned and left and returned to his room, leaving Emperor Qin and Qin Lingfei some space to talk. "Imperial Father, let's return to the palace." Qin Lingfei didn't intend to take advantage of Feng Qinyun's good intentions and directly asked to return to the palace. "Fei, does Haoran really not intend to see me?" Emperor Qin, who was concerned about whether or not he could pass the body tribulation, asked carefully like a doting father. "Imperial Father, don't you understand Haoran's true meaning?" Qin Lingfei couldn't help but remind him when she saw that her father, who was usually so awe-inspiring, had completely lost his usual shrewdness because of the ownership of the icy heart jade bone elixir. She was disappointed and couldn't help but remind him. Haoran's true meaning? After hearing Qin Lingfei's reminder, Emperor Qin carefully recalled the contents of the conversation between the two that he had just eavesdropped on. Finally, he noticed Yu Haoran's last sentence. "I will leave it to my fiancée as a relic." Who was Yu Haoran's fiancée? Wasn't it his daughter, Princess Ling Fei? With Ling Fei's respect for him, wouldn't she take the initiative to give him the icy heart jade bone elixir? However, there was a premise to all of this, and that was the meaning of the relic. What was a relic? It was something left behind by someone who was bound to die. In fact, it wasn't that Yu Haoran didn't intend to give the icy heart jade bone elixir to him. He was just complaining that he was too selfish. Or more accurately, he needed to compensate him enough to appease his anger. Thinking of this, Emperor Qin's original imposing manner returned to him. He raised his head and shouted outside the courtyard of Qingyao Pavilion, "Director Jiang, Your Majesty!" Director Jiang quickly opened the courtyard door and appeared in front of Emperor Qin in a flash, respectfully waiting for instructions. "Mobilize all the spies and investigate the evidence of Qin Jichang, the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Rights, breaking the law," Emperor Qin ordered. "Yes, Your Majesty." Looking at Director Jiang, who respectfully turned to leave Qingyao Pavilion, Emperor Qin turned to look at the room where Yu Haoran was recuperating, then said to Qin Lingfei, "Fei, accompany Imperial Father back to the palace. Yes, Imperial Father. Seeing that her Imperial Father had regained his confidence, Qin Lingfei happily replied, Your Majesty, other than investigating the crimes of the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Rights, you also need to prepare a few treasures that can move me. Otherwise, the final betrothal gift of the engagement ceremony won't be the icy heart jade bone elixir. Just as Emperor Qin was about to leave Qingya Pavilion with Qin Lingfei, Yu Haoran's conditions for reconciliation came from the room. Haoran, don't worry. I will prepare a gift that is beyond your imagination. Without turning his head back, the Qin Emperor gave the first promise he was willing to make since he ascended the throne. After sensing that Emperor Qin and Qin Lingfei had left Qingya Pavilion, Yu Haoran ordered Thaling to set up a double array of security and defense in the room. After that, his physical body entered the Thaling Palace. Chapter 716. There was a sixth chapter tonight. In Xianyang City, as the day of the engagement between Princess Ling Fei and the 100 Qi Gate's Deputy Gate Master Yu Haoran drew closer, the entire Xianyang City fell into a carnival that was even livelier than the New Year. However, the atmosphere in the mansions of the several aristocratic families in Xianyang City was very oppressive. Among them were the Meng family, the Wang family, and the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Rights. Qin Jichang, the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Rights, who had just returned from the imperial court, had a gloomy face. Master, seeing that Qin Jichang was in a bad mood, Chief Steward Yuan cautiously greeted him. Go and call Chu. Qin Jichang ordered as he walked toward the study, suppressing his anger. Yes, Master. In addition to the burning anger, Chief Steward Yuan, who was familiar with Qin Jichang, could feel the endless killing intent in his body. This made him realize that Qin Jichang was in trouble. Therefore, Chief Steward Yuan did not delay and directly used a movement technique to call for Qin Fengxiu. Not long after, Qin Fengxiu arrived at the study. When he saw his father sitting in the armchair with a gloomy expression, Qin Fengxiu, who was originally in a good mood, suddenly became nervous. Father, why did you call Chu here? Qin Fengxiu asked nervously. Chu, what are the Confucian school's 3 steel and 5 constant? Qin Jichang raised his head and looked at Qin Fengxiu, who looked 90% similar to him, with a painful expression in his eyes. Then, he took a deep breath and suppressed the sadness and pain in his heart. He asked as if he was teaching Qin Fengxiu knowledge. Father, the 3 steel refers to the ruler as the subject, the father as the son, and the husband as the wife. The 5 constant are still benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and faith. Although he did not understand why his father asked him why he had started learning the spring and autumn dew when he was 3 years old, he was used to listening to his father's orders and obediently answered. Sure, the father is the son. What does it mean? Qin Jichang did not express any opinion about Qin Fengxiu's answer. He only picked one of the 3 principles and continued to ask. Father, as the son, is the foundation of the 3 principles. It refers to the children's absolute obedience to their parents. When Qin Fengxiu explained the meaning of the father is the son, a bad feeling gradually emerged in his heart. Chu, will you obey the absolute obedience of the 3 principles of conduct? Qin Jichang nodded with satisfaction at Qin Fengxiu's answer. Then, he raised his head and looked at Qin Fengxiu with a trace of determination in his eyes. Father, what do you mean? When Qin Fengxiu saw the determination in his father's eyes and associated it with the absolute obedience of a father as a son, Qin Fengxiu had already guessed his father's true thoughts. But when he thought about how he was his only son and the only successor to the Ministry of Rights, he was unwilling to believe his own guesses and couldn't help but ask. What exactly do I mean? Smart as you are, you should have already guessed it. In the face of Qin Fengxiu's questioning, Qin Jichang suddenly sat up straight and asked in a cold voice. Why? Qin Fengxiu asked, unable to understand and accept. Why? Repeating Qin Fengxiu's question, Qin Jichang closed his eyes and suddenly fell silent. "Father, is it because of you, Howren?" Seeing his father suddenly fall silent, Qin Fengxiu tried to ask. Qin Jichang nodded with his eyes closed. "Father, if it's because of you, Howren, you don't need to worry at all." After receiving his father's confirmation, the nervous Qin Fengxiu immediately relaxed and spoke with a tone full of confidence. "Because I handled things very well at the time and didn't leave behind any evidence that could be traced back to the assistant minister of state." Qin Jichang opened his eyes and looked at his son, who had regained his confidence, and couldn't help but shake his head in disappointment. Then he asked, if His Majesty wants to move against the Assistant Minister of State because of you, Howren, does he need evidence?" "Lord Father, my Grand Qin Empire was founded on martial might and rules the country by law. Could it be that His Majesty dares to take the risk of offending all the civil and military officials and forcefully convict my Assistant Minister of State without sufficient evidence?" Qin Fengxiu retorted like a pure Confucian scholar when faced with his father's question. Seeing his son, who was as simple as an idiot, Qin Jichang felt a deep sense of self-reproach. He blamed himself for sending his son to a Confucian school to study the way of elegance, and even more so for having his son walk the path of a civil official with him. He was too simple, so simple that he couldn't adapt to this cruel world. This was also good. At least if he used his son's life to protect the Assistant Minister of State, he wouldn't feel disappointed or sad. "Steward Yuan!" Qin Jichang suddenly shouted at Steward Yuan, who was standing guard outside the study. "Master!" After hearing the greeting, Chief Steward Yuan entered the study room cautiously. "Send Shu to the Court of Judicial Review and personally hand him over to Jiang Shaoqing. Also, tell him that the mastermind behind the ambush of the son-in-law in the northern city is Qin Fengxiu." Qin Jichang ordered coldly as he leaned back in his armchair. "Father, you can't do this to me. I arranged for Uncle Li to kill the black bear beside you, Howren, because I wanted to avenge you. It was Uncle Li's idea that you, Howren, was heavily injured. I didn't do anything wrong, nor am I guilty. It wasn't the Ministry of Justice, but the Court of Judicial Review." His father's action just now was very clear. He planned to sacrifice himself to protect the family. However, how could Qin Fengxiu, who believed that he didn't do anything wrong, or rather, who didn't want to accept his fate, obediently obey? Therefore, as he argued loudly, he tried to mobilize the soul power and origin power of a peak 7th grade martial king, intending to forcefully break out. However, when he realized that he couldn't mobilize his soul power and origin power, his expression couldn't help but change. His voice was filled with anger. You actually poisoned me. Steward Yuan, hurry up." Ignoring Qin Fengxiu's question, Qin Jichang ordered Steward Yuan. "Yes, master." Steward Yuan directly knocked Qin Fengxiu unconscious and directly carried him out of the study, heading straight for the Court of Judicial Review in the inner city. One day in the outside world was 2 years in the pagoda. 2 days in the outside world was 4 years in the pagoda. Ever since his rebirth, Yu Howren had never spent such a long time on cultivation and healing. Fortunately, his strong mental state cultivation allowed him to adjust and calm down in time every time he was upset and irritable. It was under this kind of persistent cultivation and healing that his dantian, which originally needed about 4 years to be repaired, was completely repaired in the 3rd year. Chapter 717. Begging for flowers, begging for gifts, begging for subscriptions. In the Qingyao Pavilion, after 3 years of healing and 2 months of pill cultivation, Yu Howren finally decided to leave the victor and return to the real world. After saying goodbye to Thaling, he touched the imprint in his mind and returned to the room in the Qingyao Pavilion. Taking a deep breath of the fresh air of the outside world, a familiar and intimate feeling swept away the frustration that had accumulated in his heart due to the long period of cultivation. Then he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to adjust the aura that was different from the Tianxian continent due to the long period of cultivation in the victor. Fortunately, he did not stay in the victor for too long, so the aura that was different from the Tianxian continent was not strong. It only took him 10 minutes to recover to his original state. Getting out of bed, Yu Haoran planned to start refining the Nirvana pill to recover his completely collapsed foundation as soon as possible. He signaled Fowling to remove the double defensive and alert formations in the room, and then opened the door. Just as he was about to leave the room, he found his master sitting cross-legged in front of the door. From the yellow leaves and dust that fell around him as he sat cross-legged, Yu Haoran knew that during the 2 days he was recuperating, his master had been guarding the front of the room and had not taken a single step out. This made him feel a trace of warmth in his heart. "Haoran, you've recovered." Hearing the door open behind him, Feng Qingyun, who had been on high alert, immediately opened his eyes and turned his head to look. Seeing Yu Haoran in good spirits, he quickly asked in surprise. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran suppressed the gratitude in his heart and replied in a relaxed tone, "Master, this disciple's injuries have already completely healed. Next, I will need to refine a type of medicinal pill to replenish my overdrawn foundation." "That's good." It was just that his overdrawn foundation had not recovered yet. After hearing Yu Haoran's white lie, Feng Qingyun could not help but sigh in relief. After all, the Tianxian continent had too many treasures that could recover one's overdrawn potential. Moreover, Yu Haoran himself was a grandmaster at the pinnacle of pill cultivation. It was very easy for him to recover his overdrawn potential. "Master, although you must be very tired after guarding me for so many days, your disciple still needs you to guard me and refine the pill." He wanted to let his master rest, but after considering that the Nirvana pill would not be baptized by lightning tribulations, the commotion caused by the formation of the pill would not lose to the 5 Lives Mystical Gate pill and the Ice Heart J-Bone pill. At that time, there might be some greedy people who would come to fight for the Nirvana pill. Therefore, he needed his master and Black Bear, 2 experts in the Martial Saint realm, to protect him so that he could concentrate on refining the Nirvana pill. He didn't have much confidence in refining it, and he didn't even know if he could successfully refine it. Facing Yu Haoran's request, Feng Qingyun waved his hand and said in an unhappy tone, "Haoran, what are you talking about? What I should say is that helping you refine pills is my honor." "Master for me." After saying politely, Yu Haoran came to the place where he had refined the 5 Lives mysterious pill. He took out the elixir furnace that had been upgraded 3 times. It had been restored to the highest grade of the King realm. Then he sat down cross-legged and took out the elixirs that Fowling had sorted out from the victor. He also summoned his second doppelganger to help at any time. Then he closed his eyes and carefully recalled the formula of the Nirvana pill, as well as the whole process of melting and refining the elixirs. He tried to be foolproof. Just as Yu Haoran began the preparations for refining the pill, Chu Zhongyu and the others, who had gone out to observe the survival of the ordinary people in Xianyang City, returned to the Qingya Pavilion, chatting and laughing. When they saw Yu Haoran sitting cross-legged in front of the elixir furnace, Chu Zhongyu and the others habitually wanted to greet him. Feng Qingfeng immediately glared and quickly reminded him with his divine thought. Haoran plans to refine a high-quality pill. He needs an absolutely quiet environment. Now, you can either stay here quietly and don't disturb him, or continue to observe the survival of the ordinary people. They had always heard that Ninth Junior Brother's alchemy skills were very powerful, and his alchemy skills were miraculous, but they had never seen it with their own eyes. Therefore, after hearing Feng Qingyun's reminder, Chu Zhongyu and the others quickly stood behind him and looked at Yu Haoran while biting their lips. When everything was ready, Yu Haoran opened his eyes and pressed his right hand on the elixir furnace. Then, he mobilized his origin energy to drive the fire in the furnace. One by one, the elixirs were thrown into the furnace. They were quickly melted and refined into pure elixirs. When all 80 auxiliary elixirs were refined into elixirs, Yu Haoran suddenly stopped refining the elixirs. Then, he looked at the last elixir, which was the blood essence of the first grade of the rank 3 Exalted Realm Fiery Bird. The Nirvana pill was meant to break everything and start all over again. It was a heaven-defying elixir created in ancient times by alchemists who had reached the pill god realm based on the phoenix's ability to rise from the ashes. Although the Nirvana pill's recipe had been modified by countless alchemists and the difficulty of refining it had been reduced by a lot, the only thing that hadn't changed and couldn't be changed was how to refine and fuse the blood essence of the phoenix. This was the problem that countless alchemy grandmasters were unable to successfully refine the Nirvana pill. At the same time, it was also the main reason why Yu Haoran lacked confidence. He took a deep breath and dispelled the messy thoughts that had just emerged in his mind. Then, he directly opened the lid of the elixir bottle. Then, an incomparably hot aura instantly raised the temperature of the entire Qingyao pavilion by more than 10 degrees. The scorching aura even began to affect the entire Qingyuan guild hall. This is the aura of an exalted realm beast. Feeling the scorching aura from the elixir bottle, Feng Qingyun couldn't help but take 2 steps back and mutter to himself with a pale expression. Gently pulling Feng Qingyun's sleeve, Gongsun Yuding signaled for him to be quiet. Taking a deep breath and forcibly suppressing the shock in his heart, Feng Qingyun nodded to Gongsun Yuding and signaled for everyone to step back. Then, he looked at Yu Haoran with a grave expression. He couldn't help but guess what kind of heaven-defying elixir Yu Haoran planned to refine after using the blood essence of a rank 3 exalted realm beast. Reaching out to pick up the elixir bottle, Yu Haoran directly poured the blood essence of the flamingo into the cauldron without the slightest hesitation. As soon as the blood essence of the flamingo entered the cauldron, the flames contained in the blood essence and the cauldron's fire seemed to be mortal enemies. They were completely out of his control and directly confronted each other. Yu Haoran, who had already expected this, didn't panic in the slightest. First, he used his divine sense to drive the spirit liquid refined from the 80 spirit herbs to the edge of the cauldron to avoid being destroyed by the 2 different flames. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.